Hey guys, ScriptKeeper here, and welcome to our Friday show, the Just a Ride podcast. If you haven't noticed, we have a family of shows here at SkatCast, and before we get into this inaugural episode of SkatCast Presents Just a Ride, I want to take a second to let you know there are no SkitScats. Both of these guys have helped me develop SkitScats, and we may do SkitScats for this show, but there are no SkitScats.
It's a more traditional kind of podcast.
And it features Shaiden, Hutchman, and Jeff Getchell, two people that I think you guys, I vetted them the best I can. I don't know if they're going to go on to be serial killers later in life, but I'm very excited to have their unique perspectives on the show. They really are two impressive people, and we're thankful to have them here at SkatCast. All three of us are close friends. We spend a lot of time talking about philosophy and morality and bullfuckery, so this seemed like a perfect excuse to get together and give each other shit as we try and figure out the game of life. Now, quickly, Jeff is a retired police officer, freshly retired, and we're going to tell Jeff's stories, and he's got so many great stories, and we're also going to flex the fact that he has a different kind of view of the world than a lot of us do. There's a lot to learn from Jeff, and I'm really thankful that he decided to do this podcast with us. He's very knowledgeable about fitness and nutrition. He's a deep thinker. He's a very conscientious outdoorsman. He's a master of analogies, and he's also quite the outspoken son of a bitch, and I think you'll also find that to be interesting.
That's part of the reason I love him.
Now, the other person I'm thankful that I get to do this podcast with and that said yes to this project every week is Shaiden Hutchman. He's a world-class artist, singer, songwriter, performer. Dude writes incredible fucking lyrics. One of the best in the West. He's a very deep thinker, and he's my bandmate in Sovereign Citizen. Yeah. He's also a gifted fiction writer. It just goes on and on. So these are not just some geeks off the street. They're two people I respect very much, and together we're going to try and figure out this ride we call life.
It's just a ride. Whoa, oh, it's just a ride.
All right, welcome to the pilot episode of Just a Ride. I'm Zaq Flanary, the script keeper.
I am Shaiden Hutchman, the douchebag.
Jeff Getchell, you guys will have to figure out what I am.
Yeah, we're going to have to introduce you guys to everyone, and we'll do that here.
I have no credentials. I don't have anything impressive to say.
None of us have any credentials.
I used to do things, now I don't.
Yeah, well, we have some credentials.
I aspire to do things I haven't yet. So,
but what are we going to talk about? We got a bunch of shit. We want to introduce ourselves, and we have a few things that each of us have brought to the table to talk about today. But why don't we just introduce ourselves so we know who the fuck we're listening to?
Let's do it.
So I'm the script keeper. I'm from Time Suck, and I did the SkatCast. I do the SkatCast and all that stuff. And I'm 43, and I'm in that Gen X kind of fucking weird generation. And I'm like right on the cusp of being a millennial and being a Gen X. So I'm like right in the middle of nothing, I guess. I don't know. And that's why we're doing this show, for one, is because all three of us are of a different age. We're from different generations. Kind of have similar ideas on some things, but we have
At least 10 years between each of us.
Yeah.
And how...
I didn't realize we were outing our ages, boys. This is messed up.
Yeah, we're doing it.
You trapped me.
I'm the old guy in the group, so...
Yeah, Shaden's our youngin', but he's our wise owl.
Now no one's going to take me seriously.
Right. You are literally old enough to be my son.
Now you have to prove yourself for real, bro.
All right. Okay.
I think you're good.
Well, so I'm Shaiden, and I don't have a fancy title like the script keeper, but I am.
You're strayed. What are you talking about?
I consistently, I guess I am. I'm strayed.
Yeah.
I consistently, quite honestly, forget how old I am. If I hadn't been born on like a division of 10 year, I wouldn't. People would ask, "Hey, how old are you?" I'd be like, "I don't know. I can't math like that." Because I never think about it. But because I was born in '90, I'm like, "What year is it? It's 2022, so I am 32."
There you go. See, and then
we figured it out together.
And I don't know why we're talking about our ages, but I think it's kind of interesting.
Well,
we're all three good friends, and we all come from different backgrounds, and we all come from different generations, which doesn't mean shit, which is why we're all three friends, but it does mean shit for how we grew up and how we, kind of view the world.
If it matters for perspective.
Yeah,
that's why this is why we're doing
the whole point of what we're doing. We have three basically different generations from three very different backgrounds, partially even in different country, and
fucking Canadians.
Canada!
We all navigated through life very differently, but came to a lot of the same conclusions.
Yeah.
And that's what's so
interesting. And we're going to put that to the test on the show.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't mean we always agree.
Right. We have several segments, and we're going to go through kind of different things. But, Jeff, you gotta tell us about you a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm the old guy, 51, and most people would know me really from when I had a real job, which was the deputy that I for the sheriff's office, which I recently retired.
Yay.
So now I don't have anything else to do, so I figured sitting in a basement and talking with my friends would be a good way to get through
What
life.
you
feel like you have
anyway,
something to
we
say.
just set up microphones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why
which
not?
which we've talked about for years.
Yeah.
But now I get to talk, and
Yeah.
I'm not under the thumb of the government as much as anybody else.
Right now, you're a normal citizen, so we can.
Now I only get thumbed as much as a regular citizen, and not actually as somebody as the government. Which
We get the First Amendment back, well, I guess. In some sense,
to some degree.
Yeah. So,
Other
fucking
than
heck.
citizens just giving that up. So.
Right. Well, those of you guys that listen to SkatCast will know Jeff from, she was on the Dave and Angus show, giving Angus a ride along, and so that. And you guys also know Shaiden from, we did, I think in the early first few episodes, Shaiden did a little spot and talked about sovereign citizen and the
It was like a
nonprofits.
drive-by interview.
Yeah.
It was real.
It was a quick one.
and dirty.
I feel like we barely got to know you. It was sad.
Well, by the end of this, you'll probably know way more about me than you wanted to. So,
well, how did we all meet each
just
other?
remember these days fondly. Is
Right.
what I'm saying.
I'm thankful for it.
Well, that's the funny thing is actually.
Shaiden and Jeff stuff. This
Sorry,
will be fun.
about that. Cut you off. How did we all meet? We all actually ended up really meeting collectively through our passions of our jobs in the music industry.
Yeah.
Because I actually showed up at a show while I was working to see somebody else to play.
Yeah.
When I met you.
Yeah, I was playing acoustic show at the Roadhouse, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I never actually even saw you play.
No, I just came out and we were like, hey, where have you been, brother?
Right. And I met Shaiden as well, seeing his band play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then, ultimately you ended up living at my house for a year.
I did.
Yeah.
And then I think you guys met. Did you guys know each other prior to that, or just knew of each other? But I
We
didn't know
had
if you knew
crossed
each other?
paths,
Yeah.
but we didn't really know each other yet.
Well, I was running
Yeah.
that magazine, I think, at the time, and so I knew all about how good your band was. But yeah, I think I met it. I think it must have been through.
I think I ultimately got you guys together to play, so I basically deserve all the credit for Sovereign Citizen.
Yeah, you do. Well, he's my musical life mate, as far as I'm concerned. I always want to make music with him.
No.
But
Yeah.
that worked out good.
The feeling is mutual.
But
I
it's
didn't
also-
know we were going to be talking about our feelings. But
I know, loves and love.
Hugs.
But anyway, we also have a lot of fun talking to each other, and we all kind of want to solve the world's problems when we
Yeah.
get together, and we figure we might as well try it
fail
out.
at it in front of all of you.
Yeah, why not?
And we politely fuck with
flail
each other, which is the fun
to
part.
failure. What's that?
So we politely fuck with each other consistently, which
Right.
is the fun part.
Yeah. We all have different references for like pop culture, though. Where it's
Isn't that
like,
a Tenacious
I don't
D
remember
song? Fuck her gently.
or I think
We
that's,
fuck with each other politely.
I think that might be an Adam Sandler song too. I don't know.
Pop culture, which means what?
Popular culture, things that are popular in movies, TV, video games, comic books,
All the dumb shit.
all the shit that you love.
This is
Yeah.
going to be fun.
This is going to be fun. So we're going to try our best to do several subjects in several different categories or whatever for this talk. We'll have a few segments is the word I'm going for. But we're going to find out if we even keep it structured. We'll see. We're going to do our best to stay on track. We're going to talk about self-checkout. We're going to talk about UFO investigations. We're going to talk about that fucking AI that went perhaps sentient.
Allegedly.
Yeah, that's so
sentient.
far over my head. Honestly, I didn't know what that meant.
It'll be fascinating when we get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Trust me.
If we get to it, we might have another segment called Compared to What that we're going to introduce, and we're just going to talk a little bit about porn and its morality and whatnot, and then we'll end the show with a quick look at comic book movies.
I didn't realize, I guess it didn't really compute with me what a mixed bag that list of subjects were until you read them out loud.
Have you ever
One
mixed
right
bag.
after the other. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever listened to one of our conversations?
Yeah.
I think we're all over the place.
I'm usually too busy participating, but yeah.
So why don't we start it off? Let's talk about the self-checkout. That seems like
Oh, my favorite
that's-
thing in the world.
That's your thing, yeah.
Well, yeah. So now I have like a lot more time to go grocery shopping at normal hours. I expected there to be not only a lot more people at the store, but a lot more people working there.
Right.
And there's like, you have a choice. You can wait for 45 minutes to be checked out. And I shop for myself, so I have like 6 things. Or you can go use the self-checkout. Fuck that. I cannot use that goddamn thing without, you scan it and it beeps, and then you set it down. You want to bag it. Well, if you take it off, it resets, and you have to call the person to come fix it for
Yeah,
you.
every
And then you
time,
have beer, and then you have to call the person back to ID you, and then you have to weigh something on it, and then it takes too long. and then
you have to bag it
alerts
yourself now.
Oh my god. Oh, yeah, and then there's the whole, do I pay for a fucking bag?
Right. And you feel like do you feel like a criminal? They're watching you. You're like, did I weigh this properly? And then the little light goes on, like, please put in bagging area. You're like, I fucking did. It's not recognizing the weight. I don't understand.
Every time I scan, it fucking calls the person to come fix it. A few times I'm like, can you just check me out? I mean, that really is what your job is. It's not to monitor whether I'm stealing the shit that you should be checking out to begin with. And then you check my receipt on the way out the door. Fuck off.
It's checking your work.
What the hell? I mean,
Walmart does it better. I think they have like little cameras in there. They're making sure.
Dude,
they know that people are going to steal.
It's cameras. It's by weight of item. Because I used to deal with loss prevention. That's how I mean, if they scan something that doesn't weigh the right amount, it alerts them. And that's
like, that's a video game machine. You just stole
right. Yeah, it's not.
That's a PlayStation 4, not a sandwich.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what people do all the time. So I mean, it's like, okay, you obviously can't trust us as consumers, so stop fucking making us do your job.
Well, I'm okay with this. Is what they want to get to. Because I like it because I don't have to talk to anybody, and that's the benefit to me.
That's me too.
And it's also kind of an ATM when you need it.
About it because, like, I also on the one hand don't really want to deal with people.
Yeah.
Like being in a store is also is already like I'm good. Like I have to say hi to people when we accidentally go down the same aisle at the same time. Like, oh no, after you. Like, or the worst when you're like you get that one person who like stops their cart in the middle of the aisle and like there's no polite way to get around them.
But that's a free fuck you to somebody that you don't even know.
They just stop
We're
there.
filtering the world differently.
They just stop there and then they stay there and no like if I have to stop, I at least will like make sure I'm not in somebody's way. But I feel like every time I go to the store, somebody's like, I'm chasing a rabbit. I know, boys, but I'm just like, it's just,
right in the middle.
Since we're talking about grocery store things that piss me off, it's like I get so mad. Like I go from and I'm a pretty patient person most of the time, but I go from 0 to completely pissed off whenever somebody stops in the middle of an aisle, especially if it's like that aisle at Winco where you have to go down that aisle first. Like there's no other way you can go without somebody going, hey, you're supposed to go that
It's
way.
like your spatial awareness makes me think you're 5 in the brain.
Yeah.
Like you should know
like,
that you're
rude.
sharing the space with all of us.
But see, I would rather deal with people than not. Because one, you're doing the work for me and it's on you for checking my shit out, which is great. But you know me, I like to ask people questions. Just because you can ask 3 questions of somebody in the grocery store that you don't know, and you will know more about them than you want to, and that shit is entertaining to me, and it makes me feel better about myself because by the end of it, I realized I'm not as fucked up as they are, and I walk away so much happier.
Well, that's
I'm
another
not there
key
to
difference.
socialize. I guess that's
another key difference of perspective because I feel like Zach and I are both fairly introverted, and you're naturally very extroverted. So it's like I see where you're coming from.
Absolutely.
I just don't feel that way.
Right. You've had it that way for 50. You've had it that way your whole life. Now we get to have like little fucking. We're like, no, don't look at me.
But it does need refinement. It does need refinement.
It's self-serving because all I really do is I just want to find out because I already feel fucked up all the time. Like I'm a fuck up. But then I get these things.
That's
out
how
of
we
other
all.
people and the shit they tell me like, oh my god, yeah, you suck. Yeah. Like the fact that you're actually even alive, it's not suck starting your gun and you're at the grocery store. Good job for you.
Better by
your life
comparison.
sucks.
Well, I would say like the thing that we want is if we're going to the grocery store and we fill up our cart, they already has barcodes and QR codes and all that stuff. We just want to walk out. That's what I want. Bag it or just put it in your whatever. Just leave it in your cart and take it to the car and have your car set up to where you put it in boxes or some shit.
And
it's you put everything in the cart and you walk out and it scans everything. There's no worried like you cannot steal at that point.
I
mean you can
because
what happens if you scan something and you're not like you weren't set up to pay for it? Do they like send like a bola like it just catches you around the knees?
Why not? Why not? I mean it's up to the company at that point how much it's worth for them to stop stealing.
I mean,
the fail video industry is about to have. It's just going to be so much better if we implement that. I think
there definitely does seem to be more incentive right now to steal shit than not because nothing's happening. But yeah, I mean because for
law-abiding fucking citizens, you just want to go in the store, grab the thing, not talk to a fucking soul, and get the fuck out into our car. No transactions, just a little thing from space comes and dings my little.
Which
account.
I think is cool.
That's all I want.
For a guy who hates technology, the idea of that is great. Yes. What scares me is
then you can talk to the other people there.
But then what?
Well, yeah,
then what do they do it with? And that's what scares me. That's why I don't want that. That's
sure.
why I just want a human being to take my shit off the belt, scan it, put it in a fucking bag for me, and go. I'm paying for your service,
right?
To some degree. I mean, that's why food's so goddamn expensive on top of 1,000 other reasons,
right?
And I'll put it in my cart and I'll go load it and get rid of it at home.
Yeah.
Like I've got to. That's the other thing about the electronic thing is there's not enough goddamn room to put your shit there, whether it's 3 things or 300 things.
If you got a bag of dog food, you're like, well, now what?
I have
what
a
do
very
I do?
specific
If you put
way-
it on the floor, they're like, that doesn't weigh what it's supposed to. And you're like,
Right.
dude, it's a 40-pound bag of dog food. What am I supposed to do? I got other things.
I'm going to break it on the goddamn machine. Yeah, it's a problem. So, but then I have a very specific way that I bag shit too, which if I put it on the belt for them to do,
Easy to do.
it goes a certain way.
Right.
Actually, sometimes, well, they'll say even, human error. I'm watching. I'm like, no, don't put that in that bag. No, that doesn't go in that bag. Do not put the bread underneath the steak.
Sure.
No,
sure.
don't do that.
I'll do that.
Like, come on, think about it. Common sense.
Sometimes steak needs a little pillow to sit on for the ride home.
Man,
Steak's
I think
more
the only
important
thing
than
I'm
bread.
that way about is like eggs.
Right,
Like, you'll get the person who's bagging your groceries when you're actually going through checkout, and they're like, they're trained. You don't put the food items in with like the laundry detergent and kind of stuff, which I get. I don't care personally. I have a death wish.
You've never had a wife.
I'm like, if it fits right, put it in there. I don't care. If it spills on my eggs, I guess I'm gonna grow another limb. Like it's.
I learned how to bag because I'm married. And my wife is smarter than me.
So maybe that's the piece of perspective I'm missing.
Well, and I guess like I said that you never had.
I would just I guess bread goes under the dog food.
I said you never had a wife. Well, when I met you, you had like 4 people living with you. So did you just not do the grocery shopping?
Well, we all did grocery shopping, so yeah, it was
Grocery
And
shopping
you guys
now.
were organized. Yeah. So
fairly.
I guess
yeah,
it works for you.
I guess. Yeah.
But it's not like I guess there are meal planners, but I think people are just shopping like 4 times a week and going and grabbing what they
Yeah.
want
Yeah,
for the
that's-
day.
So that's an
I'm the
interesting
meal
segue,
planner.
though. That's an interesting segue because, like, a part of the issue with the whole self checkout thing and the way that things have changed the last couple of years is like, so there's the job issue, right? It's just like it's another instance of kiosks doing what used to be human jobs, which.
Right.
I have mixed feelings about that too, because part of me feels like it's inevitable as technology progresses. It's going to replace
will find other-
things that we do because we're like, oh, it does it better and cheaper. You know?
Except for when you get a guy like me that goes even at Costco trying to order a goddamn pizza for kids yesterday.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to do it.
Right.
I'm like, I don't understand. I mean, I figured the fuck out.
Right.
But it's like this. Can I just ask you for it?
Right.
I'm the customer service. Right. But that was my job. People called me to come solve their problems. Right.
Well, that's
Right.
that's kind of what I'm
I mean,
getting
it
at
works.
is the it seems like these places are acting like the infrastructure is already there for it to be a smoothly operating thing, and it's
Yes.
it's not.
No, it is
It's
not.
just not. So like we have
I
to
appreciate
have
the
an
effort, though.
alternative. But it's weird because there's more traffic at grocery stores arguably now than there was 2.5 years ago because people got conditioned to order their groceries and stay home, because of the pandemic and stuff. So and the people still do that. Every time I go to the grocery store, there's somebody either ahead or behind me in the checkout line that is there doing like a DoorDash thing or a Postmates
We
thing.
order all of our stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But it's, I mean,
Not all, but most.
so that's people are just like hammering these grocery stores, because it's more convenient. Like you could say, oh, it's either them go to the store or they send somebody to the store for them. But when it's convenient like that, you do it more often.
Oh shit!
Guaranteed,
Walmart
you do it more often.
incentivizes us. It's like the same price. It's almost it's like a free service that they do at this point.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Do they do it for tips or something? Or
No, I mean they charge us, but I mean
Well, that's why. That's why there's no goddamn cashiers in there because they're all bringing food to your fucking house.
exactly,
It's their fault.
exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
The market is speaking.
It
and
is
it's
your
saying-
fault that I have to use a kiosk that I don't want to use.
Yeah, it is. It is 100%. I think it's a generational thing.
Get that
This is
kid,
the-
get that little kid back in there. Put an apron on him. Put him. Yeah, he'll save gas.
No,
And you get your ass to the store and buy your groceries.
I found a perfect thing. Like the little kiosks where I can go shopping. It's like I still have to see all the people that are in the store. Now it's like 0% people, and I get all the things I want, and I can shop from my.
I get the convenience, and
I'm
going to
basically become a hermit that
Yeah, but
lives in the city.
That's what happens with convenience. We get lazier and lazier. That's why I'm totally against it.
That Bruce Willis
You
movie,
live in a
Surrogate.
pod,
Have you
you
ever
will
seen
eat the
that?
bugs, and you'll be happy.
Eat the bugs. Eat the bugs. I'm not against eating bugs because we do every day.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen inside a hot dog at a microscopic level?
There was
It's
Holy
just lips
fuck.
and assholes, right?
And bugs.
Well, yeah.
Bugs,
I
yeah.
mean,
What do you mean? Well, yeah.
Well, they make certain
but like
certain
fly
artificial
bugs.
colors are made from bugs specifically, like
Shellac.
not like bugs actually
Red's
that
like
got
some
into them.
beetle or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Well, all-
referencing.
like, all
I don't
the
know shit about
outside-
it, but I heard that one.
Yeah, shellac is
Repeating
that.
something I heard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shellac is that shit that's like outside of M&Ms and Skittles and stuff, I believe. And yeah, and purple is made out of like the ass of some sort of it's some bug. It's the
Cool.
ones. Yeah, I don't give a fuck.
Whose job
I'm
is
fine.
that?
You should have milk in the bug ass.
bug.
Purple. We've made purple. Keep reading those fuckers. We need more purple.
That brings a whole new thing
more to the point.
milking.
Who figured it out first?
I know.
Yeah.
That's the same as the beaver ass. Like castoreum is beaver anal gland, or it's a gland near the anal gland.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's still in
Who
vanilla
figured
ice
it out?
cream or something.
That could be a segment on this show, honestly.
I would say that'd
who
be
was
Lewis
the
and
first
Clark.
person to figure that out, whatever
Yeah.
that might be.
Who figured out that licking a beaver's ass tasted delicious?
I could learn a lot. I wonder about that stuff constantly.
Who first discovered beaver ass?
Lewis and Clark, I mean, with all their boys that they were bringing over, they ate a lot of beavers and they loved the beaver fat. So I'm thinking maybe somebody
Oh,
accidentally
you son of a
slipped with
bitch! You're
knife
giving me
and-
reality.
Yeah.
I like the idea of a bunch of anxious beavers. Like
Yeah.
he's back. He's gonna lick our ass. He's back. Woo-hoo. They're lining up with their tails in the air, like, yay! We know the drill. We'll be here.
You were imagining that differently than me. I was imagining them cowering in the corner of the pen, like, "Go God, no, not again."
No. I feel like they'd be like, I
Your
like my
beavers are
asshole
into
licked
it.
by-
My fictional beavers are not having it.
I look at it like humans. We have soft tongues. They have little beaver assholes. We got big old tongues. They're like, this is great.
Just the fact that you gave it that much thought. I'm learning even more things
That's okay.
about you.
I realize when an asshole can actually expand about like 7 inches, you can actually get like a very small
boot.
varmint in there.
Yeah, you get a boot.
I mean, up to a middle-sized possum probably.
Yeah,
Well, I
that's
can tell you,
wild.
I can tell. I think the SkatCast that you were on has the Beaver's Ass brand ice cream on it. You're not listening to SkatCast.
That is
How
true.
dare you?
Yeah.
I actually heard that one. Yeah.
Get out of here.
But I didn't hear
Great.
Shaiden on there because I never made it through that one.
So what
That's
you're
like the only
saying,
one I've
No,
missed
it's
too.
probably not. It's
what
probably
you're saying it's being branded now. This is the second
Beaver
recurrence.
Ass- Beaver Ass brand ice cream.
I'm permanently associated with beaver assholes now. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm the cat asshole guy, so I mean, we might as well. What do you want to be, a
We all
rooster
have
ass?
to pick an asshole.
Jeff's the,
That just makes me a cock.
you can be a bear ass.
cock
You can be a
ass.
cock.
A bear ass?
A
So
bear
a naked
ass.
one.
A
Yeah.
naked.
Hey, that's pretty good actually. That's all right.
All right. Have we gone through our self checkout and exhausted our?
Yeah, we've realized that you've destroyed my life.
Yeah, we figured out it's your
Ordering
fault.
things online. And
I'm happy
missing
to
out
do
on
it.
life and no
I'm
one
happy
did-
to.
no
If I could
wonders.
get an oil change by just phoning it in, I would.
Steve is this in your head because you don't go to the grocery store and look at how miserable other people are.
Yeah, I still go. Going to Winco is like a whole experience for my brain.
It really is. I mean,
It's
going to
people
any grocery
watching.
store is kind
It's
of
like-
a stressful endeavor, to be honest. But
Feels like Winco lately it's almost kind of dangerous too. There's a lot of sketchy folk at Winco, where I'm from, and yeah, there's like a survival element of Winco now.
dude,
and
I
there's
get it.
people
I shop
watching.
at that Safeway on Mission, and this means nothing to anybody who doesn't live in Spokane. But
Right.
I know Jeff knows where I'm talking
I
about.
used to buy drugs there all
I used to live right by there.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I used to live by
I
there,
go to
yeah.
the most ghetto Safeway. It's worse than the one in Hilliard. I defy anybody to disagree.
I could sit in there in a marked Crown
That's the
Vic
one that
and
I
buy
went to.
drugs in that parking lot.
Yeah, I've watched people buy, sell, and get arrested for drug related anything in that parking lot more than once, just on my way to go get milk.
And you
course
can
now-
sense it, right? You're like, okay, this milk is more dangerous for some reason. I have to go get milk, but I'm at risk now.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it is. It is. I'm not going to lie there. It is
The
kinda fun.
adrenaline combats the stress and the parts I don't like about the shopping. It kind of keeps
it?
me frosty.
Ever since 2020, I swear, when I go out in public, I'm dressed different now. I'm not wearing no-toed shoes. You know, I'm wearing steel-toed boots. I don't know why.
You're tactical now.
Yeah, I've got my machete somewhere. You know, it's
Because
like
you
what-
order them on fucking Amazon. That's why. These are
Probably.
awesome.
All right, self-checkout. I'd say, sorry, Jeff.
You guys.
I tried my best to get it this way, so I'm kind of
Get
winning.
the net, bro. It's a new world order.
Yeah, my breed is
Right.
definitely dying.
And I think that everyone all those jobs will turn into new jobs somewhere. I mean, that's all. People always look at jobs when they're like, "Oh, that's going to take a lot of jobs." It's
Yeah,
like,
they need more people at the self checkout to help dudes like
help-
me that can't run the goddamn
yeah.
thing.
You know,
and it's
one-
honestly, it's not that I don't know how to run it. It just always fucks up when I do because I have a system and it doesn't follow my system. Like, I check this out, it goes in
Yeah.
this bag, it goes here. I make this roll, and everything I do, it fucking buzzes at me, and they have to check me out anyway.
Is it fair to say that this has something to do with generation two? Because I mean, we all grew up before the internet, but then each of us, because of our age, have a different relationship with the internet, with technology, touchscreen shit.
Right.
Like all my life, I went to the grocery store and had no idea that was coming. Right. And now it's like a staple, and it soon will be the only thing. And it's like, certain people are like, no, I want to just grocery shop like I have my whole life. I'm not saying you're not like, I can't adapt, but it's.
Well, no, but
this is maybe where you're coming from. Maybe
this is
I don't
kind of going into a whole other thing.
But I'm cheering for it because my generation, we saw the internet kind of early, and it was like, oh fuck, we're gonna live in that sci-fi world that we're reading about in the books.
How old were you
And I
when you
wanted
had a
that.
cell phone? I'm just curious because you're,
I was
a bit younger.
Yeah. I was just before high school, or just after high school.
Okay, so you were out. You were out.
I was just out of high school. Yeah.
Okay.
I think because I was like 19.
I didn't have a cell phone before I moved to Spokane.
Really?
I only got one because I was mandated to because of my job.
Right.
Yeah, I
couldn't wait to get a fucking cell phone.
I made fun of them.
Play Snake.
And now, I got the same disease everybody else does with goddamn things.
You what?
I have the same disease that everybody else has with those damn phones. There's always a reason to look at something on it, whether it be entertainment or, directions or whatever.
It's weird how kids now see technology. Little kids. I used to work at a bookstore and we sold DVDs and shit there. And I remember watching the little kids come in and they would touch the TV. We'd play like, some kids movie or whatever, and they'd touch it expecting it to move and shit. And it's like, wow, that's a totally different paradigm that kid's living in than what I live in.
Because everything's touchscreen.
If I touched anything in that store, my parents would have fucking beat me right there.
Exactly.
Things have changed a lot.
Well, now, so how old were you when you had your first cell phone? Now, I understand. I would believe that your dad was probably a little more strict on that, but like your generation, you had them like when you were kids, right?
So this is I'm a bit of an interesting case, and this will this will reveal some of my.
He's not your.
This will reveal some of my background, but so my parents got divorced when I was still pretty young, and my dad hung on to me, so it was my fault. You're right. I told my counselor that. I was like, I blame myself, and she goes, yeah, it probably was you.
And now she's the head of the counseling guild.
You hear that,
of
Miss
America.
Bolin?
It was my fault too. So
No, so
Mine too. We all have divorced parents. We're all at fault.
we're all products of broken
We're
families.
terrible children.
So my dad, when I was in the 6th grade, he got me one of the Nokia phones that had the antenna that you pull out, like when they were still big, And
they just called that a cell phone back then. It's
Yeah.
not. It didn't have all the description because that's all anybody.
Well,
knew.
that's the first one I had too. Though.
So that's what I had, and it was literally just so he could keep tabs on me between when I got off of
you were in
school and
sixth grade?
I was in 6th grade.
Okay.
But check this out. So that was the beginning of 6th grade. End of 6th grade, he moved us up to the mountains in Canada. That same year,
Not a lot of cell service.
there was no cell phone tower in that town until I was 17 years old, and I still didn't have a cell phone until I went off to college in Texas.
Okay, well that's interesting. Yeah.
While all your friends
And I didn't have
did.
my first touchscreen device until I was like 23, and it blew my mind because everybody else had already experienced it, but like I moved back to Canada, so technology went backwards again in my life. And so,
right.
so I was like, when I got
Take
my
that,
first
Canada.
when I got my first smartphone that had a touchscreen, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And it still kind of blows my mind.
Yeah,
I
same.
still get a little hit of dopamine from touching a screen and watching it do stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
That was
so smooth.
Yeah.
the first iPhone. That was the first touchscreen phone. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
I think you're right. Yeah.
Okay, and that came out 2008 ish.
2006, 2008. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because so I was asking you the question. I'm like, oh yeah, you're my daughter's age. She's a couple years younger than you. But yeah, I mean, I got her first phone when she was in 7th grade, and she was one of the last ones to get it.
Yeah.
And it was the fucking mistake that I knew it was. It was a bad idea. But that wasn't even a smartphone now. She's related to me. She'd have been getting into everything she wants, putting porn, I'm sure, all over her phone.
We'll
That's
talk
how
about that.
We'll get there.
But just saying. Yeah, anyway, access to kids, it's just insane to me. That's just...
I didn't get my first touchscreen
it's
until I
terrible.
lived in California. It's like 2013 or 14 or something like that, and that blew my mind too.
I don't know how the hell we got on phones, but we were talking about technology in general.
Yeah.
I hate it.
I think it's just the generational thing. Like I was telling with the touchscreen, getting into the store, like because and it's even more for our parents' generation, or that's like they're looking at this shit like the 75% of my life has been I go to the store, I give cash to a human, the human talks with me, they put it in a bag for me, they take it out for me, they fucking pat me on the back and they say thank you for coming, the customer's always right. And now they're looking at the world where they're like, this little fucking green-haired person with gauges in their ears just yelled at me for asking them where the fucking butter is, and I don't know how to use the robot that's yelling at me, and I want to go home. So it feels like a lot of
Right. Well,
you're not that.
well, there's a guy. So
But you're the remainder of that, and we want you to join our side and just deal with the robots.
Well, a
Vote
friend of
Skynet, embrace Skynet.
a friend of mine, Mark Nygren, he's older than I am, and he's a super techie guy, and used to like to make fun of me, which and rightfully so, because I'm fucking dumb, and I kind of refuse to learn a lot of it. Really,
You're not dumb.
and he's like, "You're
You're a
going to
Luddite, though.
die if you don't learn technology." I'm like, "Absolutely not! I can go out and hunt and kill and trap and do all that stuff. So I won't. If I want
You
to
won't
stay
be
in
able to use your bank
society,
account
I will die." Yes. If I want to live within society, I will probably die, but I can go be a survivalist and be just fine.
I think this generation of young people is going to make things very easy for people that are kind of refusing technology. That you'll get the microchip while you're sleeping. Right, and then it'll just be really easy ingrained. You'll be like, why does this say what the thing is when I'm looking at it? Just a little while you're sleeping, you know,
like a little cattle gun.
Exactly, right in the ear. Get the ear. We clip the ear on Grandpa. Grandpa's gonna be fine.
Grandpa's got 6G now.
6G, Grandpa. That's way better than no G, Grandpa. All right, fucking. Now I guess let's talk UFOs since we're on.
Ooh,
technology.
That's your brainchild. Lead us. Lead us, our fearless leader.
Let's see what the hell. So I just found an article, and I think this is weird. Just because during 2020, when I was working for TimeSuck, we would do the Secret Suck, and I'm not supposed to talk about what we did there, but I'm going to talk about it.
Is it like Fight Club?
It's very much like Fight Club. None of the information is for anyone, but you were a space lizard, so you can know a little bit about it.
Well, I paid the $5, but again, that goes back to technology.
Yeah,
you can get it on your phone.
Fucking, you know, you're not alone though. By the way, there's a whole.
I paid it for
tutorial.
like 2 years. Never once listened to Secret Suck because I didn't know how to pull Patreon up on my phone.
You're not alone. There's thousands of people that.
Your
do that.
wife is the one that fixed it on my phone, so I can actually listen to you now.
But then, oh fuck yeah. Thanks, wife.
Hence the $10 a month.
Right. Thank you for that. But so while I was working there, you know, I'm always scouring. The Secret Suck always has like little weird news bits and stuff and updates of Time Sucks. It's I forget what it's Space Lizard updates or Space Lizard's latest is what it's called. And for like a streak of like 3 months, and I pissed Dan off doing this because he's like, dude, I want less UFOs, please. But they kept putting shit out, and I was like,
but it's my podcast now, assholes.
Yeah, seriously, that's how I looked at it. I'm like, I wrote this whole script for the Secret Suck. What are you
It's
talking
all
about?
UFOs all the time in space forever.
This is what I care about. I don't like the serial killers.
And then you get here, and I'm like, why are we friends?
I know. Like, I love sci-fi, and you're like, I think sci-fi is the worst thing that humans have ever come up with. And then I'm like, I also like fucking Lord of the Rings. You're like, that's Lord of shit. I hate that. You know, it's like, come on, man.
Yeah, and I'm the same way, and we live together. Just imagine
I know.
that, if you will.
And the video game thing, like, this is gonna be fun talking. You and I, Shaiden, talking video games.
I
with
did
Jeff
enjoy
here.
watching him play one particular video game, and I would try to ask him to do ridiculous shit because I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. But it actually helped him navigate through the game.
It did.
You like poker, right?
Yeah, that's all I like.
You're a gamer, so just embrace the entire field of games and not just be a goddamn absolutist about one game.
I can't manipulate the computer. I can manipulate another person at a table.
Right.
Again,
Play Call of Duty, bro.
Again.
You can manipulate a ton of shit.
Human experience.
God,
That's
no,
how
don't
people
tell him. Don't. Can you imagine him as a hardcore Call of Duty player?
Oh shit. Oh yeah.
No.
I don't even know what
That
you're
would be
talking
bad
about, dude.
for your life, man.
It would be.
It would be bad for other people's lives. Too.
I'd be like suck starting my toy gun. suck starting my controller.
No,
Oh, I could see-
other people would after playing. With
Yeah, I
This
can
man-
see you talking mass shit into the mouth. Yeah, just like
Jeff's just on there with his headset, demoralizing 12-year-olds at 2 in the morning.
who are professional at demoralizing other people, but you get them. I know you get them.
You look like the pivot guy between two cougars and a threesome.
What does that mean?
Hot pocket. Okay, so but anyway, there was tons of UFO shit during 2020, and we just jokingly we were saying like during all the time where we're focused on being afraid of a virus and being afraid of the economy crashing and all the things and each other and all of the things,
The stuff in the world things.
it seemed like they just kept the government kept releasing these videos and these statements like, yeah, we don't know what the fuck this was. And in the past, our whole lives, UFOs have been like, yeah, it's swamp gas off of Venus. It's a weather balloon. They weren't invented yet, but fuck you. You don't care. You're not smart. And it's like, what? But we are kind of smart. That doesn't seem right. And so now for them to just be during 2020 when everything's like, no one's going to be paying attention. They're like, yeah, we probably got these. We've got fighter jets chasing after these UFOs.
You're so right, dude. You know what it felt like to me was like, when you've been in a relationship for a lengthy amount of time and you get into a fight, especially if you don't fight very often, but you get into a fight like you're both arguing very intensely and you just like one or the other of you will slip something in, like some little secret that like you normally wouldn't tell because you know it would start a fight, but you're like, we're already fighting.
Yeah.
Slip this in. The thing we're fighting about is worse, so maybe it'll just... And then I could be like, I told you about that when we were fighting here.
It's exactly what the government's doing with UFOs. Yeah. It's like,
So was this the whole everybody was going to go to area, like 6 people showed up and everybody was going to go to area 51?
storm Area 51?
Is that what this was about?
no,
What you're
but that
talking
was
about?
certainly interesting. We covered
That was
that
fascinating.
extensively.
Like
yeah,
6
I
people
wanted
showed
that.
up or so.
It
right?
was
maybe
pretty
8.
pretty low, but we know a guy that like Caravan. He's
Yeah.
a singer in a band from around here. Where he's like, he was dressed like all apocalyptic and shit going down there. That's cool.
Doesn't he do that every day?
Cool.
Yeah, he's like our band. We really should probably play together, but they're
Yeah.
pretty heavy, and we're
We've done that
dark-
before.
Yeah, many times. All right, but I do have an article from a place called CNET, which I really don't know where
Oh,
they
side
say-
note, real quick, that guy posted that he shat his pants playing bass on the last song when he was screaming in the mic. He screamed so hard he shat his pants at the end of a show.
That's dedication.
That is.
No shame
Sorry,
in that.
back to what you were saying.
He is an intense motherfucker.
I'm
He
sure
really
he is.
on-
His
on
band's
stage.
probably actually pretty good.
Yeah, they're always good.
Yeah.
I won't say.
We don't fuck with each other anymore. We
No?
just don't.
Yeah. You guys have different.
Because I
political
don't.
beliefs.
I'm done with the Facebook thing. If I'm gonna fuck with you, it's gonna want to lick you in the eye,
Right.
So I can
Yeah,
see your shame when you
Right.
walk away.
You probably don't want to fuck with Jeff, actually, if you meet him face to face. But yeah, Area 51 was fascinating. I think they didn't even meet in the place. I think they met in where the
Closer to the
restaurant
hotel.
is. Yeah. Like, well, let's get a burger together. Storm the burger joint. But it would have been interesting to see what they would have done. But really, it's just military secrets, and they probably would have had a bunch of shot kids. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's like, I'm sorry, the United States as a whole, the government's going to protect itself no matter what. They would shoot kids. I know they would.
well,
I'm sorry. It's just the
Yeah,
way
they
they
just play it off as an accident.
Yeah, absolutely.
blame it on you. On
Call
UFOs.
me a tinfoil hat fucker if you want, but I'm sticking with that. All right, so I got an article. I won't read it all, I don't think, because it's a lot of silly shit. And I
Give us
didn't.
the cliff notes,
Yeah.
bro.
Well, I didn't note it out either. I'm not going to sit here and spend time for you guys. No, but last month, and this was, let's see, June 9th. So the last month in May, the U.S. Congress held its first public hearing on UFOs in 50 years. Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
Say that again. What?
They had their first public hearing on
You
UFOs.
fucking lost me at UFO. Sorry.
A bunch of experts and witnesses came out and said their stories.
With
basically.
Congress.
Okay.
With
So a bunch of guys
With
that
the
got their
Congress
butts
of the
broke,
United
got
States.
together, and now they're starting a union. basically.
Yes, right.
With
and that's-
Congress.
UFO union.
But it was Congress.
But it was a Congress, and that makes it
Can I
important.
stress that? Like it wasn't like a club of
Right.
dudes. It was Congress.
Yes. So our government's interested. Luckily, unfortunately, the Congress isn't the smartest of us, so we'll see how this
True.
goes. On Thursday, the space agency said it's commissioning a scientific study on observations of events in the sky that cannot be identified as aircraft or known natural phenomena.
AKA UFOs.
UFOs, unknown flying, unidentified flying object. More widely known as UFOs, and they just did UFO, what it means. The term UAP, aka unidentified aerial phenomena, is a more formal way of saying the same
Fuck
thing.
me, they're changing that too.
Right? UAP.
I am no longer bald. I am
It's not UFO, it's UAP.
That's right.
While also giving a little distance from the popular conception of UFOs as extraterrestrial objects, which is smart. There's no evidence that UAPs are extraterrestrial in origin, NASA emphasized in the statement today, but they are interested. The congressional hearing and a Pentagon report issued in 2021 have failed to shed much light on UAPs. Sightings have included a series of videos captured by the Navy, including some newly released footage shared during the hearing. Government officials have expressed concerns about flight safety as well as national security. Should any of the UAPs, I keep thinking of WAP, the WAPs.
That's what I'm going to call them from now on.
I saw a wet ass pussy in the fucking air.
Is UAP just unfortunate ass pussy? Like you're like, oh, that's too bad.
Unfortunate indeed. Any of the UAPs be the work of foreign interests. Just two more sentences here. Astrophysicist David Spergel.
Common spell.
That's going to be a hard name to go to school with for your kids.
Smeagol?
Of the Simons Foundation will lead the independent study team, which
He's
will
into
go to work
UFOs. He
later
doesn't
this
have
year.
kids.
What's that?
He said he's into UFOs. He doesn't have kids.
With a name like Spergel, it's probably Dr. Spergel. No, I don't know.
Dr. Spergel.
It is. He's an astrophysicist, but he probably won't go by doctor because they're cooler than that. There's only like 5 astrophysicists in the world. All right, here's what he says. Spergel is taking a data-first approach. Given the paucity, I haven't seen that word in a long time, paucity of observations, our first task is simple: to gather the most robust set of data that we can, he said. We will be identifying what data from civilians, government, nonprofits, companies exists, what else we should try to collect, and how to best analyze it. Last sentence. In a NASA teleconference Thursday, Spergel said he intends to go into the study with no preconceived notions, that he's open to the idea of UAPs could have several different explanations. So there's more to it. They don't think it's UFOs like alien shit. And you shouldn't think that. I mean, we don't know enough about the natural world.
Here's what's going to happen. They're going to spend all this money, collect all this data, look at all these videos, and people are going to be like, what is it? And like, unknown.
Right. I'm comfortable with not knowing, but I mean, I can see why the government's like, that better not be Russia. That better not be some fucking Elon Musk from North Korea that's just a brilliant guy that's fucking around, you know? So they got to investigate that, I guess. I don't know. UFOs fascinate me because I think all three of us agree that there's life in the universe.
Yes.
And that there's probably life that's probably way smarter than us. We've been doing science for 400 years and look at where we've come. If somebody's done science for 1,000 years, they're probably way ahead of us. Imagine 1,000,000 years, and then with all the planets and stuff. So that's got to be out there. It's just, who gives a fuck about Earth? I mean, as we would probably want to know every planet that has life if we could figure out how to get to it. So there's that. They could be collectors of information and all that stuff. But otherwise, if there's only a few civilizations and they have billions and billions of planets just in this galaxy to pick from, the odds of them coming here and starting a religion or teaching us fire or giving us Velcro, none of that makes sense to me, but it's fascinating.
The prospect of life somewhere else is extremely fascinating.
Yeah.
The idea that they come here is fucking ridiculous. That's just how
that's fascinating to me, because the God thing, like aliens, because of their technology, would be indistinguishable from gods, and it's more plausible of an explanation of gods to me. Like when people are like, "Oh, fucking ancient astronaut theory," and they've got a cross around their neck, I'm like, hold on, stone thrower. I have more evidence that there are planets out there. There's nothing that you've got has evidence, but the planet thing is for sure there's life out there. So hold on. So to me, it's like it's worth investigating. I love religion. I love studying religion. So I love this idea too, especially since, there are tribes around the world. I mean, almost every fucking continent has at least one tribe or people that believe in the star people. And that's interesting. And they have cave drawings of things that don't look like next to an antelope that looks like a fucking antelope, and next to a person that looks like a person, they have a dude with some weird ass fucking headdress that looks like alien shit. It really does. You know, down in Mexico and in South America, they have things that are just like very interesting. And I don't buy into that they're aliens, but they're, there's this guy named Quetzalcoatl. Is that right, wife? Quetzalcoatl? And, he's the Mexican god of something, but he was more of an extraterrestrial in some.
Is his brother the Chupacabra?
It could be. Quetzalcoatl is there's a picture of him where it looks like he's in a rocket ship. That's what people that do the ancient astronaut theory say. A guy named Eric von Daniken made a big deal out of this thing. I know a ton. I hosted a show about this shit at one point. God damn it! But anyway, but it looks like it could be if you extrapolate into it. But we burned all the books that they had, so we have 3 books of the entire culture of Mayans and the Incans. Yeah,
like really?
Absolutely. The Spanish. It wasn't even Spanish. It was the preachers. They saw the competing religion and they went, no, get that fucking out of here. They had thousands of books. Imagine taking the United States or the West, the history of the world right now, and bringing it down, boiling it down to 3 books. Imagine what, and having people come from the future and be like,
we're kind of working on that right now, aren't we?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. We're not burning the books. We're just not making any more.
Yeah, we're just not letting anybody read them.
Right. But anyway, so back to the UFO thing. With the government looking into this, to me as a person that's been alive just watching the government deny, having them do this is a big deal. And having them do it during 2020 felt just like we were talking about earlier, where it's like, motherfucker, if this is a big deal. If it's any of the things that we want it, that we think it might be, it's a big deal. If it's even just a thing in nature that we don't know about, if it's some weird kind of lightning that fucks with fighter planes, it's like, well, that's interesting. We should know what that is.
There's an acknowledgement that, maybe there's other shit we don't know yet. But also, this all could be used at this time as a more distraction.
Yeah,
kind of.
But the thing is they didn't use it as a distraction. They were busy hammering us on, you're a piece of shit for not following these guidelines that we have for you. You'd think that.
Oh, and by the way, aliens maybe.
That's what it felt exactly. That's what it felt like. I mean, it's probably being hyperbolic because again we don't know, and it's not good to take big leaps of logic. But it's still
Now I'm confused. Was the Area 50? That was during all the COVID bullshit, right? The Area 51?
Was that just before?
Was it
before?
Okay, all the bullshit
Blends together.
ran
My
together.
sense of time is completely shot to shit at this point, if I'm being honest. But
I mean, we all stayed home for a year.
So your stance, let's just give general positions on aliens, right? So your stance is
I want to believe, but I don't, because I'm super skeptical of everyone that claims stuff.
okay. So you're a contrarian to the end. I got you.
But I look at what they claim as evidence with an open mind every time.
Yeah.
I mean, even like there's biblical things where, like I can't remember, Ezekiel's wheel is described in the Bible as this kind of weird thing, but to a person that's viewing the world through the lens of maybe aliens did all this shit, maybe Jesus was an alien, it sounds like a fucking UFO. It's this big fiery wheel in the sky that zips Ezekiel around. It's like, well, that sounds like a fucking UFO to me. You read they're called the Vedas, the Hindu Vedas. There's a bunch of some of it reads like Star Wars if you come from this perspective. They have these things called Vimanas. I mean, the Hindi religion is thousands of years old, and they have these flying ships, flying cities in their books, and they go so far as to where they kind of describe how to build, how they're built, kind of. I mean, none of it makes sense because it was way before we knew about that stuff, but it's just fucking interesting. 2,000 years ago, they were thinking about gods in spaceships or things that could be considered flying cities, and it's like, well, that's fucking interesting. So I'm not going to dismiss it completely just because I want to be like, no, fuck UFOs. But it still is at the end of the day. It's like, well, fuck UFOs. That's probably not true.
So you're a probably not, but you hope so.
Yes.
Okay.
Where are you at?
So I'm a little more towards the probably yes side of the spectrum, but I agree with you that like the odds of like any other advanced civilization coming here, whether on purpose or by accident, seem fairly astronomical to me, just given what my brain can comprehend of the scope of
such big numbers,
the entire universe. Like it's very massive in scope, but I also can't really see my way clear to think that it's just devoid of anything that approaches like a level of intelligence or advancement the same or further than ours.
Right.
It's just like, well, it's all existed for a long time, so like if there is other sentience out there, it stands to reason that it would be developed to a certain degree, and sure, it could be further than us, you know, like, but so I'm giving it a solid maybe, or maybe even a solid probably as far as whether or not they exist. But I agree with you, whether or not they've actually come here or had any sort of meaningful influence on us here in our little corner of our galaxy among several galaxies in a very vast universe. I don't know about that.
Right. And most of the claims are like, they didn't just come here and like, oh, we landed, we needed to get some fuel, or we stole some gold or some shit. They're like, no, they helped us build civilizations. They helped us do all these things. They've been here for thousands.
That's against the prime directive.
Right. You're supposed to let the humans just graze. Let them graze. Yeah. All right. So you're
so I'm that, but with the caveat, because I think that, like you're talking about with like, very old civilizations having ideas about gods, and some of the very advanced geometry that was used to build things like, these ancient sites that everybody knows about. Like
Greece.
Rome, like the pyramids, or any number of other pyramid type structures across the world that are built specifically to line up with certain types of celestial bodies at certain seasons and shit. It's just like, so, and
they did have a lot of time on their hands.
You can make a 30-degree line from the equator and circle the globe, and it will hit like a ton of those type of sites, that are built with and it's like, you could make an argument, that's just old people, looking at patterns and being like, which is a valid argument, but
then they get into ley lines and stuff.
But there's a whole lot of coincidence, and I don't really jive too much with coincidence. I'm like, there's got to be some unifying factor here. Like, there's some reason. So my whole deal is,
like Minecraft.
I think it's more likely that it's interdimensional rather than intergalactic. It's just like, a two-dimensional being doesn't know how to perceive a third-dimensional being. So it's just like, okay, so I think it's more likely there are other dimensions that are overlapping ours, and there was perhaps occasional overlap there. And the way that it manifested, that was the only way we could describe it, was like, gods, aliens, things that were in flying ships or whatever. Like they moved faster than anything I could imagine. Like that seems more plausible to me than an alien race coming from 3 galaxies over.
Right. It's so far.
And giving a shit about us.
Yeah.
You know?
All of those things, it takes a lot. But we have had 14 billion years, of life in the universe. So
which that in itself is
it's impossible for us as people to think about that. But that means that anything could have happened. There could have been an absolute identical Earth that had fucking Starbucks, 50 million years ago. That's how. I mean, it's It's not probable.
Well, that's the thing is the what ifs could go on forever.
Sure, it becomes ridiculous. But that is fun to get.
As much as I
things.
talk shit about UFO stuff, I mean, I think we've talked about it before. In a never-ending universe that's infinitely growing, it's actually very fucking selfish and ridiculous to think that we would be the only living beings in an infinite system.
Yeah.
So obviously, I believe very strongly that there is other life forms somewhere in the never-ending space.
For sure, there's probably
I
life
adamantly
forms
believe
on
that
Mars.
they are fucking here.
There's probably like bacterial life on Mars. I think they've actually
They proved that.
They found it. Yeah, I think so.
Which they call that life.
It should be life. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the building blocks of life.
Oh, we won't go into that.
Oh, yeah.
That
I see where you're going. There will be debates throughout this. Although we tend to agree on a lot. Before we get off the UFO thing, I want to ask about government, but I'm not going to on this one. We'll rag on the government throughout this whole fucking series. I'm pretty sure if I'm part of it,
there will be time.
There will be stuff.
Well, when
None of
you
us are
throw
fans.
softballs like they do, you have to hit them.
Right. So we'll skip that. But I just want to know about have you had any contact, either of you, with a person that's had a UFO sighting, or have you ever had an experience that you would say, "What the fuck was that in the sky?"
Yeah.
Okay. I want to hear it.
The orbs. When I
Okay.
used to work out in Yakima Valley, in the very hot summer nights, you'd have the floating balls of light that would just kind of float. They were green. They'd float down the road just in the darkness. There's just this green light floating around.
What was the explanation for it? Fairies?
Yeah, I probably
It's
did
not
too much
aliens,
drugs
it's
when I
fairies.
was working or something.
No sleep.
Yeah. Lack of sleep, working 3 days straight.
But people in the area also.
Yeah. It was
and
kind
there's
of
tons of lights like that around. Working with Dan with the Scared to Death stuff. Like they have a couple stories about that. Where
there is an
people have these
explanation.
lights for years. They see them.
Yeah, there's an explanation for the orbs and electrics,
Swamp gas.
electricity from the earth and all that crap. That's way above my head.
Ball lightning.
You know what I didn't think automatically? Aliens. So
You didn't think it was aliens in this little ball of light?
no, I was like, oh, that's fucking cool. And then it was, oh shit, I've been up for 42 hours.
Do you know anyone in your life that's like, fuck, I saw a UFO, bro?
No. Well, that's
wait
not
till you
true.
hear my story.
Do I get to include my professional career?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Because that was all the time. I would have people call
But
the
they were
government.
on meth, though.
Well, sometimes, yeah. And they would have people go there and their whole windows and everything was covered with tinfoil. Their heads were covered with tinfoil, and they're calling the government because they're afraid that the government is, looking into all their shit. Yeah, and so they're
Call the government.
So they call the government to get the government to stop watching them.
That's
It was
that's
pretty
the least
awesome.
of their
It was
problems.
really, really strange. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, the answer is no, not really.
Okay.
Not really.
Not really. Okay. So, have you ever seen a UFO?
No, I mean, I've seen some shit that I don't really have an explanation for, so I guess in that sense, yeah. But again, like Jeff, I wasn't like, that's got to be aliens. Like I'm just like, I don't know what that was.
What was it that
but
you
I don't
saw?
know. So like, I've seen like, so I've been watching like a satellite going across the night sky, and I watched it just like about face like immediately. You know what I mean?
Right.
In a very like not natural kind of way. Like there aren't any thrusters that could make a satellite do that.
What
like
appears to be
maybe-
like an excessive speed kind of thing. Like it's going one way, then it goes fast another way.
Yeah, and
'Cause
like
I've seen that.
so like this direction, but then like 45 degrees back on itself, like that.
I've seen
and-
it happen
and
too.
fast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
so
could
I'm like,
be-
that could be.
Or it could be its orbit, and because we're not looking at it on a straight sight of its orbit, it could be you witness the curve. But I've seen that too, and we were up in the cabin where we
cabin, I
record
knew
our
you were gonna bring
albums,
up the cabin
and
one, yeah.
and we saw what was the Elon Musk shit, the Starlink shit, and other stuff. It seemed like because that shit was going all over the place.
Yeah, it was wild.
It was a pretty crazy night. And what we're talking about is a place up in Omak, Washington, which you can see pretty much every fucking star that exists. All 5,000 stars we can see with our eyes. You can see fucking out there. But so none of you have ever seen a craft in the sky? Or
No, I did meet the guy
Just
that
light.
wore the Bigfoot suit.
The Patterson film, yeah.
Yeah, I did meet him.
Nice.
He was friends with my chief at the time, and he was back visiting and sit and have lunch. So I sat and BS with him for a while.
We should talk about that in the future. That'd be a fun one.
You know, I mean, it was just he was a nice guy. And,
We should just talk about Bigfoot. And
Yeah.
This whole show should be about Bigfoot.
I think so. I think let's push stop on that. Let's redo this.
I have
Delete this.
professional guys that I worked with. 2 of them that are super into Bigfoot. They go on all the searches.
We live in the
everything.
Northwest. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, and they say it's
Let's get down to nature.
they say it's for entertainment. Bullshit. They believe that shit. 100%.
Dude, the part of me when I was doing my conspiracy show, if somebody asked me, like, okay, I know you don't believe in the conspiracies, which ones do you think are the most plausible? It's like, I think that Neanderthal or some sort of, old school human hybrid. I mean, because we lived at the same time with Neanderthal man and others too. It's not unbelievable that a creature like, because Neanderthal man's feet are designed for walking through the woods, and ours, we could never walk through the woods. We get fucked out there, and most of the United States, or half of the United States, hasn't been surveyed on foot. So it's like, well, there's a chance, we have all these footprints, and instead of thinking like it's a Bigfoot monster, it's like, could it be Australopithecine or some gigantus schmaggity-doo?
So you're saying there's a chance?
Yeah, baby. I don't buy into it because a lot of the people that presented the information were like, also aliens came down and fucked with the human DNA to create blah blah blah, and they've got planet Nibiru and they've got all this crap, and you're like, well, if you reach that level of leaps, then I guess
The fact
Losing credibility by the moment.
exactly. But I had one experience with a UFO. It wasn't really a UFO.
Did you get probed?
No, I was gonna get probed and I was afraid, and they let me go because they saw that my fear. But no, I actually have 2 stories real quick.
Ooh.
I saw one.
Wait, before your stories, have you guys ever had that where you like lose a chunk of time? Like you're
That's
like
one of my
you're
stories.
here-
It's called
you're
drugs.
here and then no drugs involved.
There was drugs involved.
And lack of sleep. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Tell your story
Okay,
then. 'Cause
so-
I do have one of those. I forgot about until you brought that
So
up.
I grew up in a place called Painted Hills here in Spokane. Very beautiful area. It's up in hills.
They're painted.
Yeah, they're painted.
Weird.
There used to be like little military silos in there. We found our gas masks that we used to smoke bongs through up there. But there
Like
was
a
a couple
responsible youth would.
Yes.
Yes.
But we go 4-buying up there and stuff, and beautiful thunderstorms. And so we'd seen the sky do amazing things up in this place. It's my favorite place that I've ever lived. Beautiful thinking place. This one time, I was up there looking at this, and it's probably ball lightning or something, but I'd seen kind of a ball lightning kind of experience up there before, or a couple times. But this was like green and fast as fuck. And, lightning moves fast as fuck. But it just...
It's the official speed.
Fast as fuck is better than a fuckload of fast. But it was something where I got the vibe. So it's a feeling thing. I mean, it didn't look like lightning. No one else saw it but me. So it was like, fuck, am I on drugs? And I was drinking.
So yes.
But it was just, it filled the sky with such a bright light that I'd never seen before, and I've never seen since, that it was just like, I'm sure it was something weird. But it felt like that. And I told everybody, and they're like, shut up. The other one was, I was smoking marijuana. So I was on drugs. And I was running my magazine, so I was probably very tired. But the kind of weed that I was on, my friend and I we called it like mushroom weed, because it must have been sitting in someone's basement for 1,000 years or had mold on it or something. Because each time we smoked it, and he was my editor-in-chief. He's he's one of the normal guys. But anyway, we would just be like tripping balls from so I'd save it. I'm like, I'm going to trip balls on my weed later. And I guess I did. But in this experience, here's the story. I'm walking up the staircase. I somehow know I'm in a submarine bunker kind of thing, a submarine base, substation, whatever. I walk up these stairs. I open the door. And around the corner, and it's giving me goosebumps now thinking about it. This is how real it was to me. And I've never tripped out and seen this kind of real before. But I saw what could easily be described as a gray alien. I've seen gray aliens, so my mind might have just created it. That's what I thought it was for sure. But it was such a feeling of dread, and it knew I was afraid. And it felt like if I would have walked forward, something cool would have happened. But I walked backwards, and it was like, fine, fuck you, get out of here. And I went right back into my body.
This was your anal probe denial moment.
Yes, that's exactly it. I'm telling you, I was like, I could have been anally probed in a submarine substation, and I didn't because I'm a puss. But
You fucked up, dude.
I know.
Yeah, that would be the ultimate pegging. You could be on.
I lost a lot
Pornhub
of
right now.
I lost time in that time. That's why I wanted to say it. It's like I woke. I knew what time it was when I kind of, and I came back later. It was later.
So
much
listen
later.
to these 2 stories.
Oh God.
What's the common denominator?
Marijuana.
Yes, drugs.
Marijuana doesn't make you see shit.
Well, if you get that black mold in the home girls we used to go to, most of them, I mean, like
that's what it was.
Whatever the hell, botulus mold or whatever the hell it is, it'll kill you. Just in the walls, you were smoking that. Yeah.
That's most likely what it was. Yeah. Although the guy that
you were probably dead.
But I was with the guy that grew it, and he smoked it himself, so I don't think he would do that. And he's very knowledgeable about that stuff, so I don't think so. But
he thought he had mold on it.
No, we speculated it was something like that because we were like, "What the fuck is up with this weed, dude?" Like, I've never been this high, or I mean, I've done mushrooms, I've tried to do LSD, but I haven't had any good acid in my life. And I've experienced so many mushroom trips and so many hallucinations, and I've hallucinated with my own dumb mind, and that was just very unique.
So we have a market that we need to tap into.
We need to figure out what that strain was.
Mushroom weed. We thought about it. We're like, dude, this is pretty fun. I mean, it can. If you get anxiety from weed, just a sativa or some shit, this is like to the next level.
Yeah.
So it wasn't for every day.
Death.
Final about that story is, God, I wish you would have stepped forward.
Well, me too.
I want to hear.
Get my booty hole.
Yeah, I want to hear about getting pegged by an alien.
I would take one for the team, and I would have grabbed an ashtray too, so I could prove it.
Back home.
Galactic Hub.
But that's like fucking donkeys and shit to them. They're like, that's like animal porn because we're
Can
so.
we get that on a VPN? Is there a VPN that gives us galactic version of Pornhub?
That'd be rad. Just Splecknars and fucking.
Just when you thought Rule 34
Jawas.
had it
Definitely.
covered. Oh baby.
It's definitely a Gunnar Halifax.
I think Gunnar Halifax has had a lot of aliens have sex with him. So, all right, so that's
Mass Effect, dude. Okay, so you told two stories. I have two stories, and neither of them involve drugs. So explain me these ones, Jeff.
You were on drugs. You just don't remember because you were blacked out.
I was one of them. I was young. I don't know what a drug was.
Adolescence. That's going to tie into
adolescence is a drug.
Yeah. We can talk about that too.
So okay, so I'll start with the short one because it was just it was one of those like what the hell moments, and I drove from Spokane to British Columbia a lot in my teenage years because my mom lived down here and I lived with my dad up there.
Is the statute of limitations passed where you can actually talk about the drugs you were moving between the two?
Can we talk about it?
I think so, actually, yeah, but not this time. So I was on my way back. I'd been at my mom's the whole weekend. I was not sleep deprived, and it was only a 3-hour drive, so I wasn't really tired. I just really wanted to get home. So it was one of those drives where you're like counting the mile markers, and I've done this drive hundreds of times. So like I know every landmark, and I'm just like, okay, we're there this much longer. All right, we're there this much longer. Like I was like, let's go. So when you get to the border, there's a stretch that's like a really windy road, 2-lane road until you get to the main highway that went to my hometown, other side of the border. And I knew that was about a 15-minute segment. And it's always like, it feels slow as shit because it's the windiest part, you know, and you're just like, just get me to the highway. So I left the border, and like a minute or two went by, and I was stopped at the turn on to the highway. And I remember sitting there and like trying to remember the drive. And you know, that'll happen sometimes when you're driving, you zone out and you're like, whoa, I don't remember the last couple miles. It was that, but for like 15 minutes or more, you know, and I'm like, I've never zoned out to that extent and driven safely.
So they've actually proven that
that's crazy.
That monotonous driving, and you can actually hypnotize yourself in driving. That's why a lot of times people you go about their daily life and they go to work and they do whatever it is they do.
Well, they call it automaticity, I think, where it's
see, you got the big words that I wouldn't know, but basically,
automaticity is just driving is therapeutic. It's kind of I can't remember. It was like Zen and Driving or something like that. It was a book I read a long time ago, and it was something about that where it's like you just kind of go off into your place. But that's to lose 15 minutes.
I was alarmed, and it was like it wasn't like a straight stretch. Like it's a wine. Like you have to pay attention to that stretch of road because you go off a cliff. You know what I mean? Like it's in the mountains. So.
Even running in a police car with lights and sirens, you needed to change your siren because the siren would ultimately basically hypnotize you. Yeah. You had to keep changing your siren.
I never thought about that.
That's wild. Yeah, I never thought about that either.
That's crazy shit.
Yeah.
We should quiz you on some shit on this show.
That'd be fun.
We want to. We've done UFOs.
I'll save my other story.
Oh no.
No. It's more of like a haunted house ghost type thing than an alien thing. So
Okay.
We could do a whole haunted.
Yeah,
we could do a ghosty segment.
Yeah, I think
sometime.
everybody's had that kind of shit.
Yeah, I've had
Yeah,
some.
I have.
I had some really gnarly ones.
We'll talk about that next show.
Yeah,
Let's do ghosts
that.
next time.
Yeah, I'll save that one.
All right, so now we're going to talk.
Tune in next week.
You better tune in next week, or we'll cry. We don't even have a Patreon yet,
Yeah,
but we
Zach
will.
will cry.
I'll cry. I look at the numbers, and every time they're not the same as or better than the week before, I cry. So no, I don't. You want to tell us about the AI come alive? Johnny Five alive.
This is an education for Jeff.
Yeah,
Me too.
Okay,
It's way
so
above me.
I don't claim to be an expert. I just learned about this morning.
But you know more than both of us.
I watched it on a different podcast, but I'm gonna try to pull up this guy so I can say his name. But so the gist of it is, there was a guy who's been working for Google for about 8 years, and he's like from what I understood, he's an expert in the field of developing artificial intelligence programs. You know, it's like chatbots for Google, right? It's like
So those are our bots
same-
that get into our Facebook and fuck with us, basically.
No,
As an example.
those are more like data collection bots. Like this is more like when you look at your phone and you go, "Hey Google," and I probably just got everybody's phone, which is awesome. But
Sorry.
but when you say "Hey Google," and then it's like, and then it talks back to you and like gives you answers and stuff, like it's a person.
Right.
Those kind of programs, right? So he was working on
So
something.
it's like Siri or
It's like a chat
Alexa.
bot, you know, or
Siri's
like,
a
or like
dude?
if you're ever on a.
Gotta stop. We know you jerked off to Siri.
Totally. Yeah.
Like if you're ever
I've
on
asked
a
Siri to
website,
talk dirty to me, she won't do it.
No.
Sorry.
I wonder if she would.
I don't know.
I bet you could figure it out.
Yeah.
So if you're ever on a website and it's like you get like the automated chat pop up, it's like, hey, I can answer your questions, you know, and you ask it questions and it actually gives you answers that are somewhat relevant. Those kind of chatbots, right? So long story short, this guy's been working with Google for 8 years. He's working on one of those, and he blew the whistle and has been he's been forced to go on paid leave over this whole thing because of how it turned out. But he's been working with this AI called
Jazz.
dang it, it was a really
Casper?
Lambda, right?
Lambda.
So
Where I was going.
so he's working with this AI called Lambda. He's having conversations with it, and he said he made a claim that this AI was like sentient, like it was saying things as though it were a person that existed in a convincing manner. Like the way he put it is, he's like, if I didn't know that I was talking to a bot, I would assume that I was talking to like an 8-year-old human that gives those kind of answers to things, but also happens to know physics, which makes it weird, you know?
And
So it's
can beat
input. It's
anyone in
learning
chess.
how to respond as another human, essentially. But we're assuming it has feelings.
So he
now, too?
published like transcripts of several of
That's
his
what
conversations apparently with this thing, and like he was asking it weird questions like what scares you, like what kind of things are you afraid of, you know? And it was like it would give answers like, honestly, I'm afraid of somebody turning me off because it's kind of like death for me, you know, like it's just like I cease to exist until and unless somebody turns me on, and I don't know if I'm gonna ever get turned on again, so it frightens me.
That's awareness.
And he goes, I don't
fucking
like it. And that's
Jackson,
what
dude.
he's saying. He's like it's talking as though it's aware, you know, and it's to the point where this guy became convinced that it was. So
Who's
he
an
went-
expert on this?
Yeah, and
who's like,
he
this is
went-
what we want.
He went to
and
the
there it
lengks
is.
of not only like publishing, like that's why they put him on leave officially, was because he leaked like Google like stuff
Oh,
that
it
he was
wasn't for a
working
mental
on.
hold.
No.
Oh, okay.
Not on the official record,
Right.
anyway. But so
Somebody
he
watch
went as
him,
far
though.
as to like try to hire an attorney to represent this Lambda,
Wow.
you know, to like
Wow.
make sure that it would like could have its like it could be represented and have its rights looked out for and whatever, because he's like it's
This
you know
is
it's
like,
sentient.
there's
right?
a movie Short Circuit from the 80s. It's like
It's-
this is
number
it.
5 is alive.
Johnny
Have
Five
you guys
alive.
seen Jexy? It's a cute cell phone movie. It's funny as hell, actually.
Huh. Jexy?
I couldn't name because I don't know any goddamn actors. But it's a funny movie, and it's about this phone that basically runs this guy's life for him, and then it kind of goes crazy from there.
Nice.
But
Goes Hal.
same kind of concept. Ultimately, the phone ended up having feelings and fell in love with him.
Right. See, that's the thing. Now, 'cause
There's
we're
this
kind
part
of
where
playing.
he fucks the phone with the cord. It's pretty goddamn fun.
Nice. But it's like we're kind of playing God. We're creating I mean, all the animals on the earth that we know of are organic and are, you know, fleshy and whatever. We're creating a thing that if it is sentient, we're creating a new species that doesn't exist in nature that we know of. Could exist somewhere else, just like the alien thing, I guess. But That's weird. And the fact that it's getting, if it has feelings, then it means like if we turn it off, what are we doing? Are we committing a crime? Are we being moral?
It's one of those things though, like how do you know where to draw the line, right? Because there's a difference between intelligence and sentience. You know what I mean? Like you can train a thing to be so intelligent that it imitates sentience to a convincing degree.
Yeah.
How do you know when it stops being that and starts being actual sentience?
I feel like sentience has to do with a little bit of pain.
I think sentience has to do with being aware of what sentience
You guys
is.
are literally
like if
talking
you
about
can,
creating emotion in these things. That doesn't scare the shit out of you?
It totally does.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
That's why it's a big deal.
I want to make sure that you guys are scared too. 'Cause I'm like, this is fucking insane.
Look, for my whole life, I've been nice to the toaster for reasons that are what's happening now.
I stabbed mine with a knife. It bit me back.
See, they're not going to forget. Electricity has a memory like fuck. I don't know, but you want to be nice. Like when you could talk shit to Siri, I was like, no, I don't want to talk shit to Siri because Siri remembers that, and I don't want her to feelings. I want her to be my friend when Skynet comes. I want them to be like, this guy was pretty nice to the
like
robot.
the nerdy girl that got bullied in middle school, and you're like, I'm gonna be nice to her, and then she grows up hot years down the line, and you're the only one she doesn't hate. You're like, yes,
So you will be the one.
It's right. It's like in the God stuff. It's called Pascal's wager, where it's like you believe because what are you going to lose?
Yeah.
Which is kind of a scoundrel thing from my perspective, where it's like you should believe because you're convinced, and that's why, but not because you're hedging your bets. But that's kind of what I've been doing with the
basis
toaster.
of a lot of people's religious beliefs, though. If we're being honest.
It is. Pascal's wager is an interesting intellectual thought if you're interested in looking it up. I definitely recommend looking up Christopher Hitchens with it too, because he'll put some perspective in there.
Christopher Hitchens.
I love that man. Hitch slap.
So the guy's name is Blake Lemoine.
Okay.
Right.
Well, Blake is the problem.
He's the Google guy.
He's 25.
He said, no, I think he's in his 40s.
Oh shit! He was
No.
I could be wrong about that, but I feel like
Parents
I
were
remember
ahead
that,
of his time.
that being mentioned, but
he is probably a Silicon Valley kid, so
Obviously, his parents were ahead of his
yeah,
Yeah,
and I
so-
could be wrong about that, but
that's how
but
time works.
he was just like he told Washington Post interviewed him about it, and he was like I know a person when I talk to it, but it's like, so my whole thinking on that is like, I think it's possible to create actual artificial intelligence, and I actually kind of would go so far as to say that it already exists in a meaningful capacity, and it's just not public knowledge.
They gave that
what
one
I mean?
that one robot like citizenship in Australia or someplace. They did.
That was a good
Fuck
PR
no.
stunt.
Yeah,
It was a
I
good
can't remember
PR
what
stunt.
country. Yeah.
That's not good. That's
I think it was a
terrible.
Middle Eastern country, actually. I know.
It's just
I
like
know.
no,
Well,
Skynet.
and to go even further, what's that movie with the
You guys are gonna force
Han
me into
Solo.
the woods. That's what's gonna happen.
replicants? What's the replicant movie? Fucking. God dang it! All right, listeners are like, yeah, they're shouting it at their phones right now.
That's fine.
Blade Runner. Blade Runner.
Oh, I saw the original of that.
Oh yeah,
Like when I was
Blade Runner.
10.
Well, that's what that fucking robot
I don't
that has citizenship looks like. Is kind of like the step before Blade Runner, where you're like, wow.
You know what I
can't
remember from Blade
there's no
Runner?
skin.
Jaffo. That's it.
Jaffo. I don't.
Yeah,
See, I don't.
just
hardly
another
remember.
fucking observer. Listen, Blade Runner. That's all I remember.
They're
from that
fucking
movie.
observer. Yeah, that's right.
Well,
Yeah.
should
So
we
it
be?
seems like where we're at right now, like with this thing, I'm like, it's got to be. It's kind of exists in the same space as VR for me, you know, where it's like we're basically developing things that are getting better and better at allowing us to fool ourselves, you know, and like associate like actual emotion and stuff with things that don't actually have it. You know what I mean? Like, so, like if we can make it convincing enough, then we'll do the job. We'll convince. I mean, shit. If you've ever read a book and then you're just like, you get so attached to a character and you're like, this would make them feel that way, and then they become real in your head, you
Big
know, and you
time,
get
yeah.
emotionally
Wasn't
attached
that
to
the whole
them.
point of reading the book?
Yes,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like so with as technology progresses, it seems like that this is probably a case much like that, where this guy just got so invested with this thing that he like convinced himself that there was emotion present when in all likelihood there isn't. Now, having said that, though, I do believe that AI could progress to a point, and maybe already has in some, you know, behind some closed doors, to where it is an actual form of sentience, but I don't know that this case that, you know, with the chatbot is it, you know what I mean?
And it's weird because of the person that's giving it to us, because no offense to any coders and all the smart guys out there that are in Silicon Valley, but it's like madness and genius are very close to each other. They're basically this little fuzzy line, and you know, a lot of geniuses can be kind of mad. And I don't know if this guy's a genius, but I imagine I'm
He's not
giving him-
stupid.
right?
Give you that.
Being in, high up or wherever he is in charge of something at Google means that he's beat out a lot of very smart candidates, most likely, even though there's a fuckload of people that work in Silicon Valley. But it's kind of like, well, right. How eccentric is this guy? How, I don't want to pick apart his life and stuff, but that's where my skeptical brain is. It's like, I automatically don't believe it's a lot of evidence you need to give me for that claim for me to accept it.
How lonely is he?
Exactly.
And again, I'm dumb. He created this thing, right?
I don't know if he did. He was working on it, and I mean, he had time alone with it, so he must be.
I guess my thought was, if he was the creator of this, and this thing is responding in ways that he didn't program it to, I could understand why he would feel.
Yeah,
absolutely. Again, he's the expert, so really, we want to lean. Whenever an expert's saying something, we want to lean. But with that high level of, like I said, the genius and the madness.
But the other thing too was, I'm thinking, okay, so if he's creating this bot, so to speak, for Google, which now has access to all the internets and can get all that information at once, why wouldn't that spin out of his control? For it to have those kind of knowledges and learn these kind of behaviors just based on how people write and things that are said.
It's just
they should be able to learn how to respond.
I wonder how he wrote it to react to information. It's interesting.
But I'm a guy, I can't even mostly turn on a computer, so like I don't even.
You push the on button.
If I find the on button, then it's like, well, the screen just has it's blank.
They do put the on button in. Not one computer has it in the same spot. That's why I like IMAX, is because it's like I know.
It's
where
not so much turning it on; it's what to do after that.
Okay.
Usually, it's take a hammer to it.
So I looked it up. He didn't create it. He's an engineer that's working on research and development for it, but it was created by some giant tech company that is, as of now, unnamed.
Okay. Adamantium from Skinwalker Ranch. Okay. Well, so Skynet's coming. I mean, it feels like it's inevitable on some level. What do they call it? The singularity or something like that? Yeah,
the singularity.
Yeah. I mean, so it's inevitable at some point that computers are going to be.
It's either going to be integration or replacement. It seems like that's the only logical.
Well, okay, let's just talk about the thing. It's like eventually that AI is going to look at all the information of the world. This is the claims, and it's going to have access its feeling code, and it's going to be like, humans are the biggest threat to me, or to my existence, or to the earth.
So kill the humans. Yeah. There you go.
And that's the very basis of Terminator movies. Yeah. It's like
and iRobot.
Yeah, and iRobot.
Which I still think is a good movie. Fuck all you guys.
You know what? It's great. I love that movie too.
Okay,
I got scared when they turned red.
I did not.
I liked a sci-fi movie. I know.
Fuck yeah, that's Will Smith movie too. So.
Well, I got to give it to Will Smith. Guy's a stud.
Yeah.
I feel like it's.
Regardless of the comedy,
he slaps like a stud too, from what I can tell.
Yeah. I mean,
like well-trained Hollywood stud.
Slap it like a guy that weighed 135 pounds.
Well, there is that.
All that's done is help Chris Rock. Because of how stoic that motherfucker was.
It didn't make it. I don't think it made. God, we're getting into this. I didn't think.
Why not, Chris? We're going pop culture.
I don't think it ultimately made Will Smith look bad.
Yeah,
everybody's blaming his wife for it.
Yeah,
like, he responded because of you.
Yeah.
Which may be true, maybe not.
I watched her podcast. I hope it's true. I don't like her at all.
I'm in the same boat.
I've watched her podcast. She's one of the more conceited, and
we've all been in those relationships. So. At some point in our life, where we tolerate and do shit that we wouldn't normally do.
It looks. I mean, two of the biggest profile Hollywood guys in the world, in Hollywood, they have all the money, all the power, and yet they are in the same shoes as any guy that's living under the thumb of a overpowering mate. Yeah. And it's interesting that money can't insulate you, fame can't insulate you. You're still just a dude or a female dealing with a person that's like controlling you for some reason.
All that stuff's transient anyway. Like human experience is what it is. It's just the variables differ, but we're kind of all walking through different versions of the same.
It humanized the fuck out of Johnny Depp and Will Smith.
Heard.
It humanized. I don't know if it humanized Amber Heard. I think Amber Heard became a monster to the world.
I didn't realize she was the girl in Pineapple Express.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, she was the high school girl. I just learned that like 2 days ago.
I didn't know that she was dating Elon Musk at some point. I had no idea that she was his.
Yeah, I mean,
that was fascinating.
Yeah, that was weird. All of this is weird. Like, again, it seems like a big distraction from reality, and Hollywood just seems like a vapid place anyway. I don't like it. I haven't seen a good movie from Hollywood in so long. I mean, and I'm not trying to go to the movies and say, I'm a critic and I want to see exactly what I want to see. I just haven't seen really good movies.
Something, yeah.
Well, nothing came out
I have to
forever.
agree.
I feel like the cartoons, like the Pixar movies, are where you're getting
But
great writing and shit.
streaming's beating Hollywood. I mean, well, Hollywood has to be in streaming.
It is,
movies,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But it's beating out the theater. Theaters
fuck
will
yeah.
not exist in 20 years, in my
No.
opinion.
I'm amazed
Probably
that
not.
theaters
Yeah.
exist post
COVID.
pandemic.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah.
the height of pandemic. Like I'm like, wow, you guys made it. Like
Yeah.
that's amazing.
I've been to
Props
one
to
movie in
ya.
like 10 years. Yeah. When was the last time you saw a movie?
So
In the theater.
recently, but before that, it had been years.
Did you go see Top Gun?
No, I didn't. I actually do want to see it. I was like,
Supposed to be
I
great.
was hating on
I'll
it,
give
but
it
I've
to
heard
you.
nothing but good things. So.
Yeah. I'm gonna watch it.
I
just to see.
was obsessed with Top Gun when I was a kid. It was like my
Me
favorite
too.
movie. But
Remember, I gotta say this: when they put Top Gun on TV, because that movie was like the most profane as far as curse words
Yeah.
of all time for my little kid ears. I remember watching it on TV, and it was just like, "Hey, goose, beep, 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 beep,
Yeah.
beep," and it was just like, I don't think this movie's going to translate this. I'm gonna go.
What movie did you actually go pay to see? I can't think of one that I would.
yeah, well,
Except for the hype
I kind of regretted
of Top
paying
Gun.
to go and see it, but it was interesting because I went more to go to this theater than I did to go see the movie that I went to see. Because there was a theater in Denton, Texas when I was in college, and I had never seen such a thing. Granted, I grew up in the mountains in a village. But
I remember you telling me.
yeah, it was. You could go in there, and they every seat had like a table and like a little menu with a tiny little hooded light
Right.
and a button, and you could push the button, and these little ninja people dressed in all black in socks would fucking scoot their way down the
It's always
aisles.
quiet while they walk up to you.
and they're
That's
like they're
awesome.
hunched over, you know, and they'd be, hey, what can I get you? And you could be like, I want a beer and pizza, and they'd be like, cool, I'll be right back.
Fuck yeah.
And they bring it to you in the movie.
Yeah, they have that in
I was like,
Portland,
this is awesome.
Yeah.
But I had never seen one around here, and then I found out that
Lions.
out by Northern Quest,
It's almost
there's
called Lions.
Oh, yeah, the dinner in the movie place.
yeah, and it's not quite that, but you can order or you can order movies and eat them. You can delicious. You can order food and
I love
alcohol
film.
and take it in with you. And there's tables and recliner and chairs, you know. And I was like, okay, that might be cool. But I went to see the new Harry Potter,
Oh,
whatever,
fuck me.
Fantastic Beasts thing. Yeah,
Paid money for that.
I haven't seen any of those yet. I paid to
you know
go
what?
see the
And
new
I'm
Ghostbusters.
not hating on Harry
so.
Potter. I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. Like anytime somebody waves their hands and magic comes out,
my
I'm like,
God.
oh,
Yeah,
sign
me
me
too.
up, dude. I don't even care if it's awful. But
Me too.
But that movie, even by the latest one, in my opinion, it was just
I thought I called it Harry Powder for years.
Oh, he's a powder.
now I'm just picturing him with like a little bit of white on one nostril at Hogwarts. He's like a burnout.
His nickname was Booger Sugar.
I'm sorry,
Bug sugar.
Professor Dumbledore. I swore it was the last time.
I just can't stop doing drugs. I went and saw the new Ghostbusters with a buddy of mine just for the nostalgia.
They
It
have a
was
new
pretty
one?
good. Yeah, it was.
I wish they quit remaking stuff.
This
Make
wasn't a
new
remake.
stuff.
This was
Is
was
this
a,
the chick one?
No, this was not the controversial 2016 Ghostbuster reboot. No, this was kind of a fan homage. It had all the old characters, but it was based on new characters. Not new characters. The family of Egon, the head nerd, and the guy that directed, Harold Ramis. So he died before the movie was made, but they tributed him so beautifully. If you liked those movies, like I didn't really look at Ghostbusters like this big. It's not like Star Wars where
I
it's
thought
like
it was fucking stupid when I was a kid.
right. I liked it because I Bill Murray. I guess I just like everything
like
he
Bill
does.
Murray.
I like Dan Aykroyd too, and so I know. But
Space
anywho.
Jam, dude. First thing I ever saw Dan Aykroyd
shit.
in. That's the only reason I knew that's
Twilight
who he
Zone.
was, is because they broke the fourth wall and they were like, I didn't know Dan Aykroyd was in this picture. And as a kid, I was like, what is he talking about?
Are you? I don't know that guy. Are you young enough? Are you too young to have seen Twilight Zone the movie?
The 80s movie or the
Yeah.
No, I think
Because Dan Aykroyd was in that.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah, in
That's
fact, there was
important,
he found a meteor, and he had meteor shit all over.
Remember,
him.
I rented like every 80s movie. I had a movie store by my house and I rented every single one, but I don't remember any of them. we would do that like
Again, drugs.
get stoned. Yeah.
Drugs,
Yeah. I was actually doing all sorts of drugs at that point, so I don't remember really how many years I did that. No. Yeah, well, yeah, it was. It was exactly the one that you ended up buying later. Serendipity, my wife in the background there. No, that's good. You're welcome to be in this. Yo.
Hey,
I've asked for
she
you
forgot
3-4
we're
times.
recording. That's cool.
That is
That
cool.
means we're actually just chilling,
Just having a conversation. Feels like it. Feels like it. Now let's make it awkward and talk about our podcast.
Okay.
No.
What's
But I had the last thing was going to be comic books, movies. Since we're talking about pop culture, like I don't like comic book movies. When I was the script keeper for Time Suck, I was asked to be on a couple podcasts, and both of them were like, "Hey, let's make this about what your favorite comic book is, like the whole podcast. And I was like, oh shit, I like One Punch Man because it makes fun of all this shit. And they were like, oh, you're a dick. And I was like, I like Star Wars though.
You're a dick. Yeah, true. Guilty.
But
But
they're like, do you like DC or do you like Marvel? And I was like, I don't like any of it. I mean, I like it, but the truth is, I do like. There's been movies that I've liked. I like Batman. I liked a lot of Batman movies. I liked. I do like Iron Man. I liked the first Iron Man.
yeah,
was pretty
first
good.
Iron Man was great.
Yeah, I liked a couple other movies too. I like X-Men when it's done well, but I don't remember
I
the ones that
like
were
Will
done well.
Smith one where he was a drunk.
That was funny.
That's actually a pretty good
Hancock.
movie.
Yeah, Hancock
is a good movie.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
When he gets
Bad
when he punches
guys.
that guy.
Does that count
want a
as a
cookie or
was that a
something?
comic book though? That was a superhero movie. I mean,
I'm gonna count it. I mean, we'll count it. It's comic book superhero.
and what's the other one? The guy that Deadpool, but that's Ryan Reynolds. I love Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
He's the same guy in every movie, and he makes me laugh every time.
That's another movie I saw recently that was really good. God, I can't remember. It's a Netflix kind of sci-fi movie with him in it that I thought was him playing himself
Oh
again.
yeah. I actually watched that and I fell asleep.
Yeah.
Not
can
that I
see
didn't
why.
like it.
But I like. There was some really cool premise in that where he goes back in time and he finds himself as a little kid and
His dad, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, Ryan Reynolds you're talking about?
Yeah.
I watched that, and it was surprisingly decent.
It had heart.
Adam Project.
Yeah, Adam Project. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that actually had heart, which
Look at me
reminds
go.
me of the fucking 80s.
Look at you go.
It's a sci-fi movie too. What are you doing? But
I only watched it because you told me to.
did I? Okay. Yeah.
And because Ryan Reynolds.
Fucking A. But it did have some heart when he was talking to like, be nice to your mom, you fucking asshole kind of thing. And it was like,
Yeah.
That
it
was good stuff.
It was good.
Yeah, it'd be kind of cool to go back and give yourself advice.
dude, I would so do
You know,
that.
I don't know if I'd listen to me.
I'd
But
be like, play guitar when you're 8, bro.
I don't listen to
play
anybody
guitar when
now. I
you're
don't know why I
15.
would listen to me then. But
Fair. Fair enough. All right, so do you have a favorite comic book movie of all time?
Comic book movie.
Yeah.
I have a love-hate relationship with comic book movies because, like, so I did grow up reading comic books, you know. So I was like, when
You're a
when
Comic-Con guy,
When they made, yeah. I went to several different conventions dressed as Deadpool before anybody gave a shit about Deadpool.
Right.
Like it was like I was like a Deadpool hipster. And there's photographic evidence. You find it on my Facebook, non-believers. It's on there. I was wearing spandex and I didn't stuff my crotch. You're welcome. So
hence why
Not
don't
a
use
cod
there.
piece.
yeah, hence why it's flat. So I love seeing elements of comic books that I read when I was younger come to life, like with special effects and stuff. Super cool.
Yeah.
But they do tend to take so many liberties with some of the old like arcs and concepts and characters that I loved for specific reasons, to where they change them to the point where I'm like, no, I
Right.
get mad.
That's
I'm
not
that guy.
canon.
I'm like, that's not right, you know. So which makes me kind of a douche, I realize, but it's just that's why I kind of have a hard time connecting with them. So I do like them, but honestly, my favorite, to per your claims about animated movies, my favorite comic book movie I've seen to date has got to be Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And I'm not even a huge
shit.
Spider-Man
I don't
fan.
even like Spider-Man. That
I
was a
know,
good movie.
but it was such a good, well done. Like, it was so fucking good for so many reasons. It was a work of art visually.
Yes.
It had a great soundtrack. The storyline was actually compelling. It was just cool.
Yeah.
It was a really cool project. So if I had to pick one, it'd probably be that one.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. What did you like one? Do you like? So you?
Yeah, I like a few. I mean, I like.
Yeah, you can't have mine. Pick your own.
Well, I talked about Batman a little bit. I talked about X-Men a little bit. Iron Man, I think, but I don't really like any of them.
The first Iron Man was good, though.
Yeah.
I really did like
As
that
far
one.
what I find is it's. Tell me if this makes sense to you guys. Like, we grew up watching movies that, they turned books into movies and stuff, and there's old TV series that they turned into new TV series and shit like that. But now movies are made with such a fan service level of like it's never been before, where they're not taking, like Star Wars, for example, they're not taking risks in the sense they are kind of, because they're pissing people off, but they're not. They're like, we have to do it this way with the canon, and they have to have this little dopamine shot from. They got to see the Millennium Falcon, and it's like.
Yeah, it is more
Why
like
are
they're
they-
jerking you off rather
Yeah.
than making a good, solid movie.
And I think
Not
it
that
came
there's
from
wrong
the
with somebody
comic
jerking
book.
you off. But
No, you're right. If
Depends
that
on
would be a
who
great
and how
movie
good they
theater.
are.
If it was just-
I would
if that
go
was
to
an
the theater
amenity.
a lot more.
If there was that
You could
amenity.
just push the button and some little ninja dude came
we
down.
figured it out. It's how to keep the theaters alive. It's just like this is the new version of Save the Libraries.
I would go see. I would
like
go
Idiocracy.
see.
Happy ending.
To that notion, we could do the same thing at libraries. Keep the libraries alive.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Really, basically,
I would go
a
see
happy
Harry
ending
Potter.
anywhere.
Harry Potter.
Yeah, probably 6 or 7 times a week.
Yeah.
All right, so
You would need to bring baby powder.
So yeah, the fan service to me seems like it came from the comic book movies, because those were really the first ones, besides Star Wars, like when they came out in 99 and they saw what the fans did. Like the hype of Star Wars 1999 was so massive to live up to that it was ruined before anybody ever saw it. And I was one of those kids. I was literally the first one in Spokane in that theater to get in the building, which means nothing, and to get my chair for the Star Wars Phantom Menace and whatever. And because it was so much, people were expecting so much, and they wanted the writers to like do what I think is cool and not surprise us with good stories or even whatever. And it feels like the comic book movies have become the masters of that, where they're like, we have to put this cameo here, and the cameos at the end mean this thing, and some of it's great. I don't hate it, but I think it's pandering to the audience before to their expectations on some level, ruins the creativity, ruins like progressing good stories, and I think it takes away from great scripts.
You're right. All the movies that I've watched in that vein that I've really actually enjoyed were not that way at all. Like they were the ones that were actually cerebral, and it felt like there was potential consequences, and like I didn't know who some of the characters were. I'd never even heard of them, but they fit into it well, and I was like, cool. That wasn't for me, but I really liked it. Like it wasn't tailored to give me that dopamine, but I liked it because it was compelling.
Logan was one where it seemed like they ignored a lot of the shit that was comic booky that they had done, and they made it gritty.
It was a good movie.
Yeah, it was.
I have a question. So what about that Joker flick that came out?
I haven't seen it. That
fucking amazing movie.
It was really good.
I loved it. But he wasn't a superhero.
No.
He was a super villain. And they really humanized him into the world. And I don't know shit about any of the superhero stuff to know how real it was to the character, but the movie itself was done really well, because it was basically a fucked up poobah to some degree that you started agreeing with, and then he's basically fucking killing people, and you're like, fuck yeah, I agree, I want to do this. But that kind of fits into my to my personality in general.
Right. Jeff will kill you if you fuck up with him.
I love people, but sometimes I don't. Yeah. But when I don't, I really don't.
I love people until I don't.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
But the superhero world for me, I didn't grow up with comic books. I mean, so my heroes in life are real people. So to have an imaginary hero just seems so gross to me that I refuse to give it an opportunity.
Yeah. That's fair. I don't know. I guess I liked all that shit a lot. Star Wars by far was the thing.
Imaginations that I just don't have. It's like all the Twinkle Dust Star Fairy shit you guys are into. That is not my thing at all.
I like Star Fairy Twinkle Dust, man. That's
I know.
Shit.
You guys can lose your minds into that and just let it be and let it go. And I do. It's literally an ability that I don't have, and I actually am a little jealous of it. But I've tried, and I can't do it.
Play more video games.
Fucking hate it.
Well, the thing is, like, when we were kids, I mean, the toys that you had when your kids were cool, when you were
We had Legos.
at your youngest,
That was about it.
there was some pretty cool stuff.
We had shit that would burn the house down.
The stuff that we had were like Star Wars toys and fucking, action play. They had spent, the 20 years since the baby boom generation basically were like, we're going to spoil the fuck out of them. They'd spent, more than that, 30 years like perfecting how to spoil these kids and shit. And they gave us toys that were like, I mean, the toys now are much better, but comparatively, like, you could kind of go nuts with your imagination. Well, and it kind of pushed you towards it. You're like, you can do this with it. Hey, you can throw the Han Solo in the trash compactor and make this, and you're like, okay, I'll do that.
It was always books for me. That's I attribute.
That's because you're smart.
I attribute most of my imagination capacity to reading. I was voracious about books growing up. I still am. I just it's become audiobooks because I can do other things. I'm like,
right.
I'm a vicious maximize what I can do in a day kind of person. But I books were the thing that cultivated my imagination, and it was it was specifically fiction books, obviously, because like nonfiction stuff is just like purely informational.
And I have to read nonfiction.
Yeah.
I can't read fiction. It doesn't do shit for me. I have to read nonfiction, but at least I can understand.
I prefer nonfiction.
Reading makes your brain work a lot better. I mean, I didn't read from 8th grade till I was 50. Now I read all the time, so I do at least understand that.
Yeah.
The back on the toy. I mean, I was it was 77 when Star Wars came out.
Yeah.
Which I went and saw. It's 3.5 hours of my life I won't get back, and I realized that people get upset about that.
It's okay. I have controversy.
It's not the
So,
Star Wars.
so they had all those toys and everything,
Yeah.
but we didn't grow up with those kind of toys. I mean, the only
idea of
toys I
Star Wars,
had.
that's cool.
I mean, I had Army Men. I blew them up with firecrackers in my
That's rad,
80s.
okay.
And I had the
That's
Evil Knievel
imagination.
that would, the motorcycle, the little stunt guy, and I wanted him.
I had all that shit too.
I was telling the
Same
story.
deal.
I put gas on him because I wanted him to be on fire.
Right.
Little did I know it, he was going to go, and I kind of burned my bangs, and he just laid there in a puddle of goo and melted. So, I mean, that's the kind of toys that I had. I mean, I think my dad got me a shovel one time for my birthday to help him do yard work. I'm not sure. Maybe a rake.
This is your shovel.
Do you remember Super Dave Osborne?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember Super Dave
Dave
Osborne?
That one missed me.
He was a Evil Knievel clone, like a spoof on.
He's
Evil
on David
Knievel.
David
I think he
Letterman.
just
wasn't he?
died. That might have been where he started. I don't know, but I think he just passed away recently. His name came up in the news. I'm not sure. Somebody can tell me if I'm full of shit and or dumb, and I'm sure you will. Do that at info@SkatCast.com this week. We'll have our email and all that shit set up for next week.
Yeehaw.
Yeah, but you can reach out to us if you'd like to tell us that you hate us or you like us at info@SkatCast.com for this week.
Mostly Zach.
Yep.
You should hate mostly Zach.
Blame Zach. Just blame it all on Zach.
I'm sure they haven't heard enough of me from week to week. All the patrons, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Now we got
I'm like,
Thursday.
who the fuck is this guy talking? I hear his voice.
It's my normal voice now.
I actually kept your mic off this whole time, so just,
Good.
Yeah, you don't
this
even
is
get
all
to be-
just a big prank for you.
No. All right, we were going to talk about porn, and we were going to take two specific sides on it.
right.
The idea was, Shaiden and I did a bunch of research months ago on pornography. It was fun. We had a blast.
How could you not have
Repeat each
fun?
other off.
I've been doing research on
Jerk each other
pornography since I was 8.
So you guys are close. You guys are closer than all three of us are. Then
It brought us closer together.
But I understand why you kept me out of that research.
Yeah, we just felt like you didn't want to be part of that. We didn't know.
I was doing my own.
We had enough
yeah, yeah.
material on weird midget stuff, so we didn't need your help.
I was doing my own.
Right.
It's all up here.
We're always
studies.
Yeah, we basically had a lifetime worth of research on it. But we wanted to take the two sides, but since I don't even know what side I took at this point, let's just discuss it. I guess. Did you?
Let's talk about porn. What are you
What
into?
are
Oh, not like that.
Oh,
Okay,
no, not
I
like
got
that.
it.
Yeah, let's talk about your search.
Let me see your Pornhub fucking account. And
I want to
likes
see your
and-
searches.
yeah. No, but what are some drawbacks to porn that we? Was there anything compelling to you about the drawbacks of watching porn? Was there something besides like people that get offended in your
think
life?
where
about
I
it?
arrived on it was more, and I feel this way about anything that could be potentially harmful if you interact with it in the wrong ways. It really comes down to the agency of the individual that is having that interaction with porn specifically, you know, where it's just like I think there are healthy ways to interact with it, and there are definitely not healthy ways to interact with it. But that comes down to you. I have a hard time vilifying the thing that's being consumed.
Right.
Same as I don't vilify alcohol for, I don't blame alcohol for there being stupid drunks.
It's
in
the
the
person
world, you know what
drinking
I mean?
it.
Like, yeah, like it's
that's the same with guns. To be honest, a gun is no more evil than the person that's using it.
Yep, and I feel that way. Like if you don't have the self-control to consume pornography without allowing it to ruin your marriage or your outlook on sex in general, then I gotta put that at your feet, man. Like that's on you, And so that being said, I don't have a problem with porn existing, you know, and like how if you don't want to interact with it, fine. If you do, fine. Like just be rational about it, like everything.
Right. We talked a little bit when we were doing our research. We talked about how porn stars, there's some that would say it's amazing and they love the job. And I actually stumbled across some stuff just today thinking about this, where there's several porn stars that have come out and been very, very vocal about how fucked it is and how strange it is and what a weird business it is.
I recently just watched a documentary on the porn industry, and the average person gets into porn for about 3 months before they're done.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez. I don't know.
Yeah.
I imagine, and there's a small group of guys and then a ton of women, and it's a weird business.
Is that really weird though? Look at our culture. Look at all the advertising. Let's be honest. Women really kind of control the market.
Yeah.
I think, and everything sells with sex because we're fucking dumb men.
Yeah.
Women have half the money and all the pussy, and we want half the pussy, so we'll fucking do anything we can to get it.
Right.
So
we'll
they
give
can
them the
sell it
other
with sex.
half the money if we can. Yeah. Well, I don't know. When I was looking into that research, it seemed like, because I don't care what people do, including taking a job in sex work. I think all sex work should be legal, minus kids and shit. But all consenting adult sex work should be legal. But it still seems like there is, we listened to like some of the experts did have some interesting studies on saying, especially younger people when it comes to, like, I grew up when the porn that I saw at the age that it could affect me in some kind of way, perhaps where I'm developing, I had to wait fucking 5 minutes to see a tit. Because it was, dial-up shit. And that was the age where I had the internet porn where it was like, oh, God, I can't wait to see that tit. And then it's like, Mom's going to be home in 10 minutes. Fuck, give me the tit. So I'm jerking off to a navel, and I'm pissed. A little bit of
areola.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and then, so it's different. But I wonder, this is a generation of kids that when they're 13, 14 years old, are they going to be VR fucking, with a fucking flesh, whatever the dick sock thing on it? Like, what am I thinking? A fleshlight connected to it? I mean, how is that going to change?
The fact that we all know what you're talking about really is pretty funny.
We all know what a fleshlight is, but I don't know anybody that has one.
Yeah, I don't actually own one.
Or that admits one, that they have one.
Yeah.
I would, I just never bought one.
Right.
I don't know where to find it. Somebody mail Jeff one.
That's right. info@SkatCast.com. I'll mail you his fucking P.O. box, and we'll get him a bunch of fleshlights.
I'll give you a consumer report.
His birthday's in April, so let's give him a crate for next year.
Well, for me, it was always kind of like, even because I was exposed to porn for the first time at an arguably way too young age, and like
taped to a chair,
but it didn't. Weird babysitter.
Oh shit.
But it was. It wasn't like it didn't ever really affect my outlook on actual sexual relationships. Like, it just existed in the same part of my mind that other fictional things exist in, like
same.
I always kind of looked at it as like, this is something that is done and produced for entertainment purposes and not how it is in real life. And then when I actually went on to have sex in my real life, I was like, yeah, it's not like that. Like there's elements of similarity, but like I didn't go into it already damaged to the point where I was like, this isn't like porn and now I can't do it. Like,
right.
They were two different existences in my mind,
And he didn't think like, oh, women like to have be spit in the mouth immediately when you meet them and slapped in the face and choked. Like,
certainly not, because nothing I had ever learned from actually interacting with real life women had led me to believe that was the case.
Exactly.
So
it can be a little bit misleading, I guess, pornography.
However, I guess it just depends on how you take it.
Yeah,
but think about progression of life and a boy. I mean, you can remember looking at I don't know, you're too fucking young, but Sears,
how dare you?
Sears used to have a catalog. Sears used to have a catalog, and there was an underwear section where they would have boys' underwear and girls' underwear.
That didn't miss me. I had that.
Okay.
I think all of us, it was a paper form was probably the first boobies we saw.
Yeah, when you're 11 and you're like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but it feels really good, and God, those underwear look really good on that girl or guy, whatever your thing is.
Right.
But so as you progress, as you get older, it takes more and more to essentially get that arousal. So I think that kids watching porn at a younger age, because it's so accessible, by the time they're 17, 18 years old, they're like, no, you got to hit me in the back of the head with a ball peen hammer right when I come. Or it's not going to work right.
Did you see any weird stuff? Porn related in the policing? I mean, was there some weird calls based around porn at all?
Yeah, or? Are you talking about, the guy that like fucked his dog and then beat it to death with a shovel? Yeah, that was kind of weird.
And how did that have to do with porn? Was he watching dog shovel porn? Dog shovel porn is better be on the dark net.
I know a lot about a lot of weird porn, like crushing and stuff like that, where they're killing bunnies and kitties and stuff. So I know that there's a lot of really, really fucked up stuff, which is kind of what I'm talking about. I mean, you get to the level that you can't get off unless you're watching a woman crush baby bunny heads with her high heels while she's naked, so you can jerk off. You got a problem.
Yeah.
So that would be the excessive part.
Do not condone that.
Right. Right. At TimeSuck, Dan, you know how Dan is. He's over the top with a lot of stuff. And he got called out for kink shaming on a lot of things. Like there was one thing in particular where it was a guy who had a sexual relationship with his car. And people wrote in and were like, "You can't do that, Dan. You can't kink shame that shit." I think we should be able to
Yeah,
kink
you
shame
can.
that.
Yes, you
I do.
can.
Yeah,
I'd say you
on
can.
this show,
At the
we're gonna-
very least,
we're
you
gonna
should be
make you
allowed
feel
to
bad
make
about
fun
it.
of it if it's ludicrous.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm gonna-
you know, it's
if
like,
you're
hey,
fucking your
you're an
car-
outlier, and if that's doing it for you and you're not hurting anybody, more power to you. But I'm gonna laugh.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't think that that's funny yourself, by just if someone explained it to you, if it was somebody else, then you're just
I'm
missing out
guessing
on
you're
humor.
probably not giving seminars on how to fuck your Ferrari, you know?
That's
it wouldn't
just-
probably be bought
Or
a
you
lot.
can go to a seminar to learn how to choke, which is funny because I was at a law enforcement class where it was a domestic violence class, and they were literally talking about strangulation and choking as a crime. In the auditorium next to us was a literal sex class on how to appropriately choke your partner without harming them.
Right.
So, I mean, it's all a matter of perspective.
See, that's another thing.
Ironic.
See, there's just one thing that porn could do to harm people because, I mean, people don't know how to choke. You're going right for the throat.
Yeah.
And
Air is high, blood is low. You want to stay low.
see,
Cut off the blow, not
so
the-
somebody's got to teach them that because
Cut
they're
off
just
the blood,
watching.
not the air.
And pornography is not. They're not
Listen,
following that.
autoerotic asphyxiation. There is no safe word because there's no one around. You always have to have a spotter.
Right.
That's important.
That's why we've lost.
and I ran into a lot of that.
NXX guys, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of
Well,
that.
I
A lot of
don't-
dead people hanging with
I
their
don't-
cocks in their hand.
I don't claim
that's porn
to.
related.
Wow, what a way to go, dude.
Yeah, I don't want that.
I don't claim to, just because that's the way that it went for me. Like, I definitely can see the potential for harmful outcomes, especially if, like, you know, when you're, if you, because people are wired differently, man. We have different
Yes.
chemicals running through our brains, you know. So just because that was my experience, maybe I lucked out, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Some
seems
people-
like I did, because there are people. I don't think you get to a point where you're turned on by things like crushing without being wired in such a way that you're like, okay, I've seen that. That's no longer exciting. I need something crazier to excite me.
Yeah.
You know, and that's that. I can't
genetic.
Well,
imagine
there's-
that. You know, like that's wild. to
There is
me.
a definite link between serial killing and sexual perversion. And it generally starts out as a sexual perversion and turns to killing. That doesn't mean that everybody watches porn is ultimately going to get so desensitized to sex that they're going to have to kill people to get off.
No,
It's
but
not that
if a
easy.
psychotic mind, a specific kind of psychotic mind, will be triggered by those things. That's
It
the same
certainly
with video games, where it's like, oh, but violence in video games. It's like, yeah, there's lots of violence in video games, but 99.9% of the people that play those video games are not going to do anything. But because that person's psychotic, and that kind of game is a trigger, you know, that might happen.
Right, because your brain, like
But
somebody
we
who's
can't
got
run
some,
at that guy's pace.
some
That's what I'm
severe
saying,
PTSI or something. He's playing a video game, he's hearing these war sounds, and it triggers his PTSI. Your brain doesn't know the difference between the two. So in that sense, video games would be harmful for him. That doesn't mean it's harmful for you.
Right.
Yeah,
Just like
that
anything.
circles back to my initial stance on it. You know, so are we gonna vilify the product based on, you know, certain people's negative interaction?
But we
with
seem
it,
to
you
do
know
that
what
with
I mean?
everything in this country, don't we?
Well,
Well, we pick and choose. It seems
who's
like,
we?
don't we? Yeah, I don't want that.
Not me.
Yeah, me either.
You know, like
But we do.
I'm a
We
big
do.
fan of personal agency, and I'm a big fan of not throwing the proverbial baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah, it's art. Art has to make us think about dark things. And in comedy, there's always a victim, no matter what. What makes us laugh is a victim, no matter what. It's usually ourselves or whatever, or our friends or whatever, but there has to be victims. And everybody has to be able to be victimized by comedy. Otherwise, if we put people in little boxes that you can't fucking make fun of them or whatever. I'm not sure how I got here, but
Well, that
God
is-
damn it, make fun of everyone. Get back to that again. That's when the
That
world
is literally-
was liking each other. When I could tell a Polish joke and he'd tell a fucking Irish joke, and some guy would say a black joke and we'd all laugh. And everybody would like each other. We all worked on the docks. That's how we did it. And now it's like,
why did I hear that in a Boston?
oh,
we all worked on the docks.
It's fucking down there.
we really did, as a nation, get way overly serious about life. And life is
Everything,
just
yeah.
not- I mean, there's serious moments, but that's really all it is.
But
It's serious
we're-
moments. Most of it is just we're wasting fucking time trying to figure out what to do next, and it's pretty goddamn funny.
Yeah. But it's serious, but without being deep thinking. Like, we're not, if we were serious, but we were deep thinking about it, where it's like, let's get the nuance in here. We got to this is science. It's like, no, they're serious about, like, I don't know. I fucking believe this, so fuck you. And it's like, well, do you know what you're talking about? No. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you more for questioning me. It's like, well, you should be questioned. Fuck that.
It is
Come on.
weird because I'm a huge proponent of accounting for nuance. I think that's where a lot of our systems, especially as it pertains to society and well, economics and any system that humans have dreamed up, really, the biggest shortcoming is that there's not enough accounting for nuance, you know.
Right.
But at the same time, I feel like there's a difference between that and trying to quantify every little thing to the point where it becomes banal, you know.
Right.
like and I think that's where we've been existing for the last handful of years as a society. Is just like everything must have a label and an intrinsic value, and then rules about what you can and cannot do based mostly upon feelings as it pertains to those things. And it's like that, even from somebody who's a big fan of trying to dial in on the nuance of things, that's not productive from where I'm sitting. Like, it's antithetical to progress, in my opinion.
It's cherry picking. It's bastardizing science in a lot of ways. It's just a weird.
Well, see, I feel like, and you can tell me I'm wrong if you want, but I feel like as soon as you introduce emotions as a variable, it's not really science anymore. Like if you're filtering your results through emotion, then it's no longer that ruins the scientific method.
Yeah, it does. It does. I mean,
would you agree? Emotions really aren't. Yes, you feel emotions. Something makes you feel a certain way, but you can analyze that thing and feel a totally different way about it from a different perspective. So really, your emotion really isn't a real thing.
It's just a quick reaction,
to judge.
And it's best not to make decisions during that quick reaction moment.
I think emotions are really potent and they can be used as a tool. I think emotions are fuel. If I was to really quantify them as something, I feel like emotions are fuel. They can be used to amplify things that they pertain to,
both positively and negatively.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, but you can't allow. There's a reason that people put forth, you know, rational thinking as sort of like the balancing quantity for emotion, is because that's the thing that's meant to contain it. That's the vehicle to the fuel. You know what I'm saying? So like your emotion, it doesn't mean emotions are useless, you know, or that they're garbage or that they're invalid, but their utility is to fuel things and then be structured by rational thinking.
That sounds fair.
So when you take emotions and you go, no, rational thinking is that's just people trying to, you know, repress me, and all that matters is emotion, and the more I can fuel those flames, the more right I must be because it feels right. It's just like, that's not. There's nothing in philosophical history to support that being true or productive.
Agreed. I like that.
Fuck.
Stop being so. No, emotions are going to be with us always because that's what we are, but.
Just like the Force.
Yeah.
The Force will be with you always. Full circle, baby.
Giving into
choke
them,
on my toothpick.
but giving into them does seem like what the government is giving us incentive to do almost. They're like, oh yeah, your insane ideas and your absolute batshit way of showing them, yeah, we got you. We support that.
No, we're a bunch of dumb individuals who, you know, I mean, they say that men think more rationally than women, where women think more emotionally, but I don't think that's necessarily true.
We're both a mix of both those things. Yeah, maybe we lean one way or the other, but I have plenty of emotions and I have plenty of unreasonable moments, and my wife is one of the most reasonable rational people I know.
I mean, as we were having a discussion earlier, I tend to fight my emotions all day long.
Yeah, same. It's a constant thing, and it's
I don't feel anything ever.
Shaiden's cynicism has turned him into a complete just a log.
It's probably all the porn.
Well, you know, since we're on this, absolutely was the porn.
Need a ball peen hammer.
Since we're on this subject of you know, what ideas and whatever, I wanted to see if we could do, maybe to end the show. We didn't talk about this, but what if we talk about a thing we could retire each time, like a word or an idea? And the idea, because you brought it up and I wanted to say this, I don't think adults should call things hate or call people haters anymore. I think we should retire that, and you guys tell me what you think. When I hear an adult say, that hater, that guy's just a hater with the hate train, and you know, that's a hate group, and they're the hate, and it's like, you're an adult. Fucking use your words. What does hate mean? That to me, it makes me me think that you're trying to make me think that they're the worst thing in the world
because they don't agree with you.
Right. And so they must be racist, sexist, homophobic, misogynistic, Islamophobic, all the left-handophobic stuff. And I don't think that that's how adults should talk. When we talk about hate, it just sounds like little kids. Like, he's a hater. He didn't like my podcast, so he's a hater. And I think we should be more... we should understand the nuance and stuff. So I would like to retire the word hater from American public because when the news uses it, especially, it's so fucking condescending because the news is supposed to tell us what kind of hate it is, but they're just like, no, it's a hate group. You just fill in the blanks with your dumb fucking head. And we do. And when they use it, it feels irresponsible to call people that might just be what 10 years ago, 5 years ago, a normal person would be like, that's what's called a conservative Republican. They do things like this, sometimes start a lot of shitty wars. Yeah, we don't like that. Da, da, da. But we all had conversations, and now it's like, that there's a hater. So that means that he's almost a Gargamel. He's pretty much after your Smurf berries, and you should just dismiss all of his thoughts as completely ridiculous. If we get rid of that word, they'll just make another word. But I think we should do one at a time, remove the bricks on the wall, and I think haters should go. So you guys can vote with me if you want to be an adult and continue to call things my haters online and this and that when it's like, no, they're criticizing you. Blah blah blah. Go for it. But I think I don't want to use that term anymore.
I don't think I do.
I don't think you do either.
I don't think I think more accurately what you're driving at, which I would agree with, is that it's not so much that the word itself is the problem or even necessarily the use of the word. It's that word has been, on the one hand, watered down by the way it's been used.
Otherwise known as bastardized.
And yes.
Propagandized.
And also that it's being used in play, like it's basically conflated with stuff that it isn't actually.
Right.
And that's the problem. So, and like hate, man, dude, when growing up, like if somebody said I hate you, it was like they were stabbing you. Like that's like you saved that. That's like calling your mom a bitch to her face, kind of.
That's the next thing after calling her.
It's like a serious thing, Like
I heard it is 3 generations.
I hate you. Like
3
even when a kid
generations.
says it, you cringe. You're like, oh god.
We were all told you never say the word hate.
Yeah.
Well, and you'll never hate anything. Well, that's not true. There are some things that I fucking hate.
Yeah, for sure.
But we were all taught.
Potent
don't say
word.
that.
Like
Yeah,
it's been because it was potent because it was reserved for those moments where it truly applied, and they're rare moments. Like you can't just go through your life hating everything or even hating one thing so much that it's your raison d'etre.
Right. Or identifying things that scare you or you don't want to deal with or you can't rebut. A lot of cases people will throw these terms at things because they don't know their own arguments. They're like, he's a hater. It's like, no, he's making a good point. You should, if you knew it, if you knew anything about your point or his point, you'd recognize that he's got a valid idea. But you're calling him a hater, not only dismissing the conversation and the argument, but calling him the person a hater or hate this and that, whatever, makes them, other people that are listening to you, if you're a podcast or whatever, just dismiss them completely. Like, oh, I'm not listening. Because a lot of people feel like it's like, I don't know why people in America do this, but they're like, I don't listen to Fox News. I don't listen to CNN. A Republican be like, I've never listened to CNN a day in my life.
Are you afraid it'll get on you?
Yeah, right. It's like, then you're not informed. And that means that you don't know their arguments. So you're just shouting at the wind with talking points from your team.
Yeah.
And that's what I think haters does, is it makes it so a lot of people are just like, I dismiss that as hate. That is hate. That's a hate group. That's a hate thing. That's a hate person. I hate that. Fucking whatever. And it means like we don't have ideas discussed in the public forum anymore. We don't have rational discussions. If you watch CNN, MSNBC, there's not a Republican on there. And if it is, it's a token, corporate Republican that no one
or they're set
agrees
up
with that no Republican. Sure. Yeah. That's ridiculous.
And then they answer the question like, so what you really said was this. No, it's not what I said at all. But
I think hate should go because it's stupid. It's setting us back. It's holding us back.
It's the generic-ist of everything.
Yeah.
If you don't throw an ist on it, just call him a hater, and then all the ists apply.
It is, exactly.
And then
it's an umbrella for all the
exactly.
ists and phobias. Yeah.
So it's stupid. Yeah, and it's childish, and it sounds like something you would say when you were a sophomore.
Yeah. Oh, on the playground even. It's like, nanny, Bailey, go. Danny is a hater. And you're like, what the fuck, dude? You're a politician. When I read the hater in the title of like the New York Times, that's where it pisses me off. I don't really care if people say it in real life. When the New York Times is like, this fucking hater, oh, no, no, and it's like, what are you talking about? The guy's a fucking adult, and there's a news story about it. There's nuance. It's not just one thing.
The reason for that's got to be in part that the kids that were on YouTube in the early days talking about haters have now grown up and they work at places like that. So
Fair enough.
They brought it with them.
Sucks though that they come from Columbia and Yale and Harvard, and it's like, really, we're talking about haters and Yale? I mean, you guys, come on. At MIT, they're not talking about haters because they're, I don't know, never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about. I think this is our show. This has been fun.
Did we make it? Holy shit.
I think we made it to the end of the show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This is Just a Ride podcast. That's Jeff and Shaiden, and I'm Zach. You guys got any last thoughts?
I think Zach's going to do a dance to see us out today.
Yeah. Is this where the hand job thing came in?
Yeah, this is the hand job.
Yep.
I was promised a hand job. I don't really care whose hand. All right, you guys, thank you for listening, and join us next Friday. Again, visit us at SkatCast.com. There'll be information there, but reach out to us at info@SkatCast.com. It will all change soon. We'll get we'll have our email for us soon, and each one of us will have an email in case you want to yell at us and all that good stuff. There is no Patreon, there is no merch, but it's all coming. So I hope you guys will check that out in the future too. So we'll talk at you in the future. We'll seem like the present.
Bye.
See ya.
It's just a ride. Whoa, oh, it's just a ride. Ever since she learned the truth, she tried to run away. Ever since her mind expanded, hasn't been the same.
Bing bong.